Yeah, you are. If you want to stop share, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hello and welcome to jsmithdigitallearning.com. I am Russ Hockenberry, Digital Innovation Leader for Zone 3 Elementary Schools. And today at 9 o'clock, we are starting off with Jenny Aberly and Suzanne Kramer with Think Circa as an NTI resource. So, Jenny, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
Perfect.
And actually, Suzanne is not going to be with me this morning. She had another commitment, so I am flying solo.
Excellent.
If you have questions, please put them in the chat box. I believe Jessica Przinski is going to be on and helping manage the chat. So we are excited during this time of NTI to have Think Circa as a resource for teachers to use. Usually there's a fee associated with this, but during this time they've opened it up to us at no charge, which is really great because we were actually looking at purchasing Think Circa for next school year. So this gives us a great opportunity to try it out, see how it works, and get used to it before we might consider purchasing it for teachers next year. So in order to access Think Circa, there are a few ways that you can get to it. One is through our NTI Teacher School Kit Toolkit, and you can see that there. You would click on that, and then you would go into the Resources to Support Planning Instruction tab, and then once in there, if you click on the English Language Arts box, you would find a drop-down list of all of the resources, and Think Circa will be one of them that's there, and you can click on that and get into it. What we really like about Think Circa is it's a platform that can manage different grade levels. It's designed to address grades 3 through 12. So if you're an early primary school teacher, this would not be a resource for you. But if kids can read, and that's generally around third grade, this would be a resource that you definitely would want to look at because it ties in reading and writing, gives kids the opportunity to do critical thinking around the reading and writing, and also we're encouraging you to give them opportunities for online collaboration with you on this work. It's going to look a little different in this platform because kids aren't face-to-face, but there are definitely ways that we can make that work. And later on, I'll share with you some of those suggestions. And really, the focus of Think Circa is argument. So kids are reading informational type text, and then they're crafting arguments. So Circa is the framework that they use to do this critical thinking and to craft their writing and arguments. So you can see there on the screen, Circa is an acronym for claim, evidence, reasoning, counter-argument, and audience. All of those are characteristics of a well-crafted argument. We've had some teachers ask about reason as opposed to reasoning. In a lot of our schools, they'll talk about CRE or CER as a framework for argument. And I think Circa does include that, but they call it the little r. And you can see right there in the slide where that kind of fits in between claim and evidence.
Hey, Jenny, can I stop you for a second? Can you, down at the bottom, do you see where it says hide on that little pop-up?
Yeah.
Can you click that for us? Thank you. Good job.
All right. So that's the Circa framework, and that's the process that students would go through when they are on Think Circa. So we have had 4 training courses, online courses with the Think Circa folks. And it's been so helpful. They've actually given teachers time to walk through Think Circa, to make sure they can log in, to make sure they can access their classes. We concluded our 4th training yesterday afternoon. So if you missed that, we do have recorded versions of that. You can reach out to myself or Suzanne Kramer. I actually see Suzanne was on the chat, so we can email you that link if you want to watch one of those. You can also access teacher training through the Think Circa website. And once you get logged in, you'll see the training courses. And you can see a link here at the top of this page that has training for you. So with the training that you would access online, there are 4 what they call chapters, and you can see about how long each one is. Depending on how good you are with technology, you could probably get through some of these quicker. The first chapter talks about just an overview of Think Circa, creating an account and a class. You actually have access to it right now through Clever. The Think Circa folks already uploaded classes, uploaded teachers, so you should be able to get into it right now through Clever. Some teachers have had a little bit of trouble doing that and have logged in through Google instead. If you're a coach or a resource teacher and you don't have classes, then you might have a little more trouble logging in, and you can just email myself or Suzanne Kramer, and we can help you get access to Think Circa. And then you can see chapter 2 is about the lessons. They have writing lessons and they have skills lessons.
So Jenny, just a real quick question from the chat. Is this a district program? Does the district purchase this program?
Right now, Think Circa is providing this free of charge for the entire district.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And we're looking to purchase district-wide for next year. Is that answer?
Yes, that's great. Thank you for answering that.
Okay. Think Circa also has lessons for students. They have direct lessons, which are videos that students can watch that vary in the amount of time. They have skills lessons that are about 30 minutes long. And then students will go through writing lessons. And then you can see what chapter 3 and chapter 4 are about. Now, I do want to make a comment about chapter 4, scoring and feedback and grading. In this time of NTI, we're really trying to focus in on feedback more than scoring or giving a grade. And you have some options within the Think Circa platform to do either one or both of those. And so really it helps with developing those 21st century skills. We want kids to be able to read informational text and think critically about it, and then to be able to take what they've read and then to create their own argument using that. We do have data from Think Circa that shows growth for students. There needs to be a little level of fidelity there for that to happen. But for this time, we think that it's really going to help kids to stay focused on the level of reading and writing that they need to do. The screen shows the different lesson types that I mentioned earlier. The direct instruction, you can see up there on the right hand. Those are kind of slideshows or decks that take kids through lessons. And then the skills lessons is where they're doing some practice in there. Those skills are the ones that are about 30 minutes. And then the writing lesson, it will vary in time depending on how many of the stages that you take kids through. Can you see my cursor there, Russ?
I cannot
see
your cursor. No, I cannot.
So hopefully you can. If you're in Think Circa, there's a bar.
Oh, I see it now. Yes, I do see it.
This is the process that kids can go through. The first thing they'll do when they is they'll connect. So it's like a activity that kids will do to get them into the content. Then the second thing that they'll do is read the article here. You can see it's yes to uniforms. The third one will be how they engage with the text. They'll answer some critical questions about that. They might do some highlighting of the article. Then they'll do summarize. And then step 5 is where they start to build an argument. And 6 is where they create that. Something that we're going to encourage teachers to do along with direct instruction is to create some instructional videos for students to help them through this, as opposed to just turning them loose to just go through it on their own. I saw that Suzanne was on the chat a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if she's on here to do the class setup.
I am. And then I will jet out to my next training here that starts at 9:30. So I wanted to, I'll do this part, and then toward the end I'll go. So thanks, Jenny.
I'll drive for you.
All right. So, Jenny, if you can continue to share your screen, I think that would save us some time. So thank you for doing that. And so creating classes in Think Circa is really simple. One thing to note is as we move forward with our partnership with Think Circa in the coming academic year, we will have the ability to roster all of your classes for you from Infinite Campus. However, since we had a really quick turnaround here for NTI and we are supporting this as an ELA pilot, we were unable to cull out just those literacy sort of ELA classes from the data files. So what we will have to ask you to do is use a code, just like you would with Google Classroom, to add kids to your class. And so what you would do is you'll go into Google Classroom and make an announcement that says, here, kids, here's how you are going to access Think Circa. Kids will go to thinkcirca.com, hit login with Clever, and it will prompt them to enter a class code. You'll set up that class code in Think Circa. So you'll go into Think Circa, you as a teacher, log in, you'll click classes, and then you'll hit create a class. That class then will have that class code that's up there in the right-hand corner, and that's what you will push out through Google Classroom. So when you set up your class in Think Circa, you will put a name, you'll put a duration, which for NTI, we found out today our last day of school is going to be June 3rd, so you could just put June down there at the bottom. You'll put your subject and so forth, and I would be sure to align your Think Circa sections with the sections as they're created in Google Classroom. So then you'll have that mirroring effect. So again, there's the class code. You create a class. If you're a co-teacher, collaborating teacher, you can join a class, and both the collaborating teacher and the regular teacher can assign, give feedback. So this is a great platform for collaborating teaching. And the student login looks like this slide that Jenny is showing us right now. So when teachers log in, they'll click educator, and they'll hit login and log in through Clever or Google. Another thing to know is that you as a teacher can access this via the teacher backpack. So if you click on the teacher backpack and go in through Clever, you can also log into Think Circa, just like you would Edmonton, Study Island, and so forth. And so for students, this is the student-facing login. They'll go to thinkcirca.com, click student, log in through Clever. They'll be prompted to enter that class code that you set up for them and pushed out via Google Classroom. And then they will see the assignments that you have assigned for them. So during this NTI time, we wanted to set up a learning plan that would help you through this process of using Think Circa in kind of a different environment. If we were in the classroom right now, you would be going through these Think Circa modules as a supplementary curriculum. And the research shows that when kids engage in about 10 to 12 Circas a year, about 3 to 5 days, we can get accelerated growth in reading and writing, which is what we're looking for to close those gaps. And so for this pilot, what we've done is created sort of an abbreviated scope and sequence where we have a thematic or compelling question a week. And then if you look over on the right-hand side of this learning plan, you can see that we have some scaffolded student output. So rather than every week students completing the entire Circa, we have kind of scaffolded that across the 6 weeks. This document is available under ELA resources on our NTI platform for you all to use, and all of those links are live, and we fully integrate our JCPS NTI platform. And so here you can see how we recommend you engaging small groups of students to do dialogues around the compelling question for the week, to talk about feedback on their work as they're writing a claim about the role of machines. And then all the way at the bottom of this document, we just have some tips, and you can't see this here, but you'll see it when you go to our NTI platform. All the way at the bottom, you can see some tips. Oh, it looks like Jenny's going there. Awesome. Thank you so much. Teacher tips. This is how you integrate it in Google Classroom. So on Monday, you might push out in Google Classroom the lesson and skills assignment for students. You might push out a Google form that says, hi, I'd like to meet with you in small groups to discuss this compelling question. Kids could sign up. And we know that our students may need some additional support, some reteaching, some modeling, think aloud, shared writing, all of those things that we know will benefit students now more than ever. And so you may want to use Screencastify to record yourself doing a close reading annotation or some modeled writing, and you could push that out through Google Classroom to be supplemental lesson to what's offered in Think Circa. Jenny, I'll have you go back to the slideshow if you could. Thank you so much for navigating that for me. And if you all have questions on how you might begin this work, please reach out to the ELA team, elementary, middle, and high. We can do support for your PLCs, for your department. In NTI, we recommend Think Circa as sort of a primary resource. You can see that this 6-week plan basically covers what you would need to do during NTI. And we also want you to note that these are, you can use our curriculum frameworks to connect. Right now we're recommending arguments because we are, that's an essential standard, that an enduring skill that will really support kids in the next level and across content. So as you think about your instruction in ELA, we highly recommend focusing on arguments. And we put that in here for our learning plan, and we're happy to support you however we can. I'm clicking back over to the chat here to see if we have any more questions.
I'm looking at that chat, Suzanne. I'm not seeing anything right now.
One note for elementary school that we've been hearing in our training, something to remember, and even from our middle school folks, one thing to note is while learning a new platform can sometimes be a lot for us as teachers, and we're all kind of living in a new world now. One thing to remember is that our students are digital natives. And so this platform, I think both from our end and from the student perspective, is really, really intuitive. And it has lots of assistive technology options to support students. It has a teacher actually that reads aloud the article. It has color-coded annotation tools. You can use the Google Chrome read-write extensions to have the lessons read aloud and to have the prompts read aloud to students, and to have a sort of scribing feature using the Google Chrome read-write extensions. And so this sort of can be a one-stop shop for integrated reading and writing instruction 312.
This looks excellent too, because it mentions Google Classroom to communicate and using Screencastify. Both of those are part of the 4 core digital tools for JCPS NTI. So excellent integration of those tools.
Yes, and we know that you all on our virtual training schedule have had some really great trainings on how to use Screencastify and how to use Google Meets for small group student interactions. And so we would encourage you all to use those on-demand virtual training options to help you bring all of these tools together to create a coherent experience for kids.
Absolutely. We have about 10 minutes left.
Sure. I see that Miss Cabral here, I believe, is at Mazik. So Jenny, I'll take care of getting those links to her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll set her up with everything she would need and connect with her on that.
Great.
And then I did see there was a question about science. And just, we are supporting this as an ELA pilot. Think Circa is a cohesive tool for school-wide content integrated and disciplinary literacy. So they do have modules for science, social studies, and math. And we are looking at this as a tool for building school-wide literacy across contents going into next year. So just for this NTI pilot, we're sort of focused on ELA.
Thank you for answering that. So ELA focus with Think Circa. Any more questions in the chat? We thank you out there, everybody who's answering in the chat. We've got Matt Bolka and Danielle Washburn answering from the technical end of things, the IT part of things. And then we've got people out there answering from your staff as well. So excellent. We have a full schedule today of trainings for you, which I will bring up right now. JCPS. Okay, you remember you get your source for JCPS NTI is jcps.me/NTI, and I'm going to share my screen actually and show you guys. So jcps.me/NTI, you'll find the NTI Teacher Toolkit, the NTI Student Toolkit, and the Parent Guardian Toolkit as well. You can access our training schedule and resources, NTI Teacher Toolkit here. When we click on the virtual training schedule over on the side here, on this little banner, virtual training schedule, we're taking this Google Sheet, and have you guys linked your resources in here?
I just shared them with Elaine, so she's going to get those.
Okay, so when those are linked, you'll be able to click on, you'll be able to click on Jenny Aberly and Suzanne Kramer's name there, and that's where the resources will be. So that's excellent that those will be in there. And so this is our training schedule today. Up next at 9:30, Jenny's coming back along with Jessica Brzezinski to do NTI Independent Reading and Book Clubs. So that's exciting.
Hey, Russ, I've got a couple of questions I want to address here.
Yeah.
One question is there a preview of the science module? And I believe that you can go in and take a look and see what that module looks like. It's opened up for all of us now. So I think, Corey, you can go in and do that.
Jenny's coming back along with NTI Independent Reading and Book Clubs. Hey, Jessica, I think you got your mic on. We've got a delay.
Tanya, yes, this is a platform that kids need a computer. Your question says it seems to need one-to-one computers. How will this happen when we return to face-to-face teaching? Kids are going to have a device either at home or in the classroom to do this. There is an option for some paper or pencil kind of work, but it's not a very viable option. So this is definitely something kids are going to have a device to access and to be able to do.
Great question. Anything else? Looking good there. All right. Looking good. All right. And so like I said, at 9:30, and we will wait just to honor time, we'll have Jenny Aberly and Jessica Brzezinski presenting NTI book clubs. And this book clubs episode is it more middle school, high school focused, or is there elementary school or?
So it's Jessica and I work with high schools, but this is definitely something that teachers could implement from elementary up, because there's a lot of options and flexibility there, and teachers just would have to think about their own students and how that would look for them. So it would be appropriate for, I would say third grade on up.
Excellent. All right. So let me go back to, again, the training schedule for today. We've at 9:30 we've got the NTI Independent Reading and Book Clubs. At 10 o'clock we've got Self-Care for Adults. It's been a really popular session this week. Lots of exciting stuff in there. And then 10:30 we've got a new session. It looks like COVID-19 Caring for Yourself and Others with Eva Stone. 11 o'clock ECE What to Do with IAs, Low Tech No Tech. Gina Gibson-Hurst and Sydney Simpson. And then at 11:30, Pictures, A Tool for Thinking and Writing with Dominique Pleasant-Moore and Carrie Gray. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter excited about that session, Carrie Gray session. So looking forward to that one. And then we take our break, and then we have our afternoon sessions. Lots of great stuff happening here on the JCPS Digital Learning Channel. If you're not subscribed to our channel, you want to go ahead and subscribe to our channel so you get updates on when we go live and upcoming shows and all of that stuff that you get as a subscriber. And we have over 3,000 subscribers right now, which is excellent. So definitely climbing up. Let me go ahead and stop screen sharing here. So we've got a couple minutes here. I just want to give a shout out to just the people out there that are they're rocking NTI. I tell you what, Mike Ice at Lincoln Elementary, man, I love those Lincoln Elementary morning shows they do every morning. They're just amazing with those. If you haven't seen it, they do a live morning show every day, and it's just like it's like watching the Today Show with elementary school cast. So pretty neat. And then we've got lots of people sending out those yes cards, those virtual yes cards. And let's see if I can actually bring up a virtual yes card, kind of give an example of what people are doing out there. All right, let's see here. Yep, I'm going to share this screen share. Let's see. All right, so now I am screen sharing, and you should see on my screen there. Here's a virtual yes card from Du Bois Academy. Thanks and a huge shout out to Miss Chanel on the awesome work and opportunities being presented for her young lions. Well done. And let's see who sent this one. This is from Danette Brown at WB Du Bois. So great culture being spread there. Let's see if we can find another virtual yes card. Another virtual yes card here. Scroll down. Oh, this is from Kathy Jackson at Bowen Elementary. And she says, first grade team at Bowen Elementary. Ladies, I know that before NTI started, you were not the techiest bees in the hive. All right, funny. But your Google Classrooms are certainly buzzing now. I am so proud of how far you all have come. That's from Kathy Jackson, the digital learning coach at Bowen Elementary. And the Bowen first grade teachers there are listed. And let's do one more. I retweeted one more here yesterday. This is from Danielle Dooling at Cochrane in the county. And she says, to our kindergarten team, you have ventured into new territory with creativity and hard work. Thanks for all of your work in getting NTI rolling for our young students. Thanks for being willing to stretch the boundaries to meet the needs of your students. That's from Danielle Dooling, the assistant principal at Cochrane Elementary, to the kindergarten team. So excellent. If you are interested in sending a virtual yes card to someone, you can go to my Twitter at Russ Hockenberry, and you can that you can actually click on this tinyurl.com/yescardjcps, and you can get the template and then tweet out that virtual yes card to somebody and celebrate someone who is rocking NTI in JCPS. Excellent job, guys. Thank you. Keep those virtual yes cards coming. And so now it is close to time to start our next show with Jenny Aberly about book clubs. And so Jenny Aberly and Jessica Brzezinski, hello and good morning. And we are ready to get started with virtual, with book clubs. So great. Go for it, guys.
Hey, let me get my screen shared. Jess, I'll drive for you.
Oh, why, thank you, ma'am.
Well, of course. Hello, everybody. We are so glad that you have joined us to talk about independent reading and book clubs today. I believe my screen is shared.
It is.
All right.
Can you hit that little hide button for me?
Of course.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so I'm Jessica Brzezinski. I'm the high school ELA instructional coach for the district. And of course, this is my lovely instructional lead, Jenny Aberly. Really what we want to press on teachers is that right now we have the chance to do something amazing. I know we have a lot of challenges ahead of us, and I know that trying to do all of this is hard. I also know that we are going to be giving a lot of recommendations. We're not expecting everybody to be able to do this right out of the bat. But if you can do just one or two of these small things, it's a great way to add some positivity to the kids' lives. It gives them an opportunity to connect with you, connect with their peers, and talk about some academic reading that they might be doing. Can you flip for me? Thanks. Okay, so even during NTI, we want to stick to our guiding principles of independent reading. So first, we want to try to get the kids reading each day. We know what the research says. We know that 20 minutes a day can do wonders for kids. So really try to get them to set some goals and read each day. But ultimately, we want to make sure that while they're reading, it's an opportunity for it to be student-centered and student-driven. So we want to make sure that we give students choice in what they read and how they read, and also how they show their understanding for what they're reading. So at this time, we don't want there to be requirements of, okay, everybody has to be in the same book. It doesn't have to be everybody has to read fiction or everybody has to read nonfiction. And I say give them some autonomy on how they read, because we have a lot of students who love graphic novels. And again, I'll throw it out there. Back in my day, that was kind of frowned upon. We didn't do graphic novels at school, but now there's a whole genre of them, and there are some amazing selections out there. So encourage your kids to read those if that's what they're interested in. We also have a graphic here to just show the power of reading, and just by certain minutes a day, how that changes their lives. We also want to make sure that they're setting the goals for reading every day. As high school instructional coaches and leads, we encourage students to read at least 10 minutes a day in the classroom. Sometimes some teachers are able to do 15. However, we recognize that when they're at home, that might be a struggle to get to that 20 to 30 minutes. So give them that freedom to start with 10 minutes and then slowly work themselves up to that 20 to 30 minutes a day.
And Jess, I'm going to jump in here and say something. I kind of think of this as a little bit like summer reading. Really, we just want kids to get into books and something that they're going to enjoy reading. So trying to be flexible and give them some options and encouragement is really important. And also think about how to recommend books to students. And I know you're getting ready to share these resources. But a great example is my own son, who is 15. I'm lucky that he happens to love reading. He doesn't really have much of a choice with me as his mother. But what I do is when I find authors that he really likes, I know what kind of books he likes, I try to get him into the first book of a series. and that makes them want to continue reading. So if you've got some students and you know the types of books they're interested in, and you can recommend or help them choose maybe the first book in a series, that's a great way to get some momentum going for them. Because they'll know what to read next or know what to read. So, Jess, I appreciate that you're going to share some great links and some resources now in terms of books for students, because kids might not have physical books in their homes right now, but they can access online.
Thanks for pointing that out, Jenny. Also, I'd love to add that if, as a teacher, you want to be able to help your students pick books and you don't even know where to start, please reach out to us. Jenny and I have a great working knowledge of books for high school level, even some middle school level. And I also know that our counterparts, Suzanne and Diane, would be more than happy to help recommend some books. We try to keep up on popular series like what Jenny just said, so that we can recommend books to kiddos when we're in buildings, and so that we can help teachers do the same. So as Jenny said, some kids, we know they come from print deserts, so they don't have access to books in their home. However, there are so many wonderful opportunities right now for them to get free online books. I love it. I hate that it took COVID for this to happen, but I do love that the options are out there. So we have a document that is in this slide. If you could click that for me, please. This, I believe, was compiled by Kate Barrows, and it's being updated pretty regularly. So whenever we find a source of free online books, we are adding it to this list. We also have a little bit of some information about the different sites. Some of them are require them to have a password or an account. Some of them have to be driven through the teacher. So please make sure that you take the time to look at the list before you just send it out to kids. We want to make it as easy as possible for them. Also, some of them are more for our younger friends. So we want to make sure that we're giving kids opportunities to find books that are more in their world, in their context. Jenny, can you go back to the very top? Because there's one that I think is really cool. So that very top one, it's actually just been purchased by Amazon recently, but it's free comics, so free graphic novels. Again, as a department, we know that that's a push for students, and we are constantly being asked to find more graphic novels to put in classrooms. I love this because not only are they graphic novels like what we would see, but they are just straight comic books like you would find at Great Escape. So this is really exciting. A lot of kids, this is a great entry point into reading for them. And they're all free on here. So it's a great opportunity. The second link that we have is the Louisville Free Public Library. I tell you what, the Louisville Free Public Library, they are a great friend to us as a school district all the time, but now during NTI, we're feeling the love even more. They are allowing us to apply for library cards virtually. So if you have a student who doesn't have a Louisville Free Public Library card, you could send this out to them and they could access all of the services at the library. And then once COVID is passed, they can just go and get their hard copy of their library card. The nice thing about the Louisville Free Public Library is that as a cardholder, you can get ebooks, and they are done through Libby, which is just the site that they use to process all of their ebooks, and you check them out just like you would a hard copy of a book at the library. And then there are a lot of other resources that they have available as well. The next link that's available to us is Audible. Audiobooks are a great way for kids to be exposed to a text. While we would love for all kids to be hunkered down with their nose in a book, we also know that that's not necessarily the way that all of our students choose to read. So audio books might be a good option. And right now, Audible has books available online for students. And they said that as long as we were out of school because of COVID, that they would offer free audiobooks to all students.
And Jessica, I want to say something here. We had something on when we were on yesterday. Someone was concerned about ECE students or visually impaired students and their access to books in print. And the suggestion was, an audio book would be a great resource for them. I know as adults, we can multitask a lot of times with audiobooks, and that's okay for kids to do.
Well, and I also think about how important family literacy is. And this is an opportunity as a family to join in and maybe take some time each day to sit down and listen to an audiobook together. And so now we have that conversation going on about the book, and it's a great way for parents to join in on the learning.
I never would have thought about that. That's a great resource, the ebooks in the Louisville Free Public Library.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So the last link that we have as an option on here, it's called manybooks.net. I will say the English major in me loves this link because it is mostly what we would consider the canon. So it's a lot of classic literature. But I'm always shocked every year because I have students who request these books. They'll ask me about recommending these types of books to them, this classic literature, whereas normally I'm thinking they're going to want something more contemporary. So manybooks.net has tons of classic literature options on there, but then there are some contemporary ones. They're not necessarily ones that we would find in Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, Carmichael's. However, there are some contemporary titles on there as well. And again, the top link, those are all free resources. And then we just highlighted the three of them underneath of that. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see that we have some student tasks options. So yes, we want our students reading. We want to give them choice in what they read. But we also want to be able to communicate with them about what they're reading, because that's when the real magic happens. So we have a couple of different options. What we've done, and our middle school counterparts have done the same, and I've got to give them kudos because theirs is wonderful as well. But Jenny and I have a 9th grade and 10th grade reading task, and then we also have a set of 11th to 12th grade. So we have them banded by the standards. Across the top row, you'll see the standards. We picked out kind of like the big dog reading standards that we would focus on in the classroom. And then we have part of the descriptions underneath. And then at the bottom of the board, we have 8 different options that could be tailored based on which standard at the top that you're wanting to really focus in for the week. This is not something that we're just going to hand out to students. This is something as a tool for teachers to use to build some dialogue options for kids, or giving them opportunities to submit maybe a flip grid to show the class, or a writing piece where they talk about they write about what they read. So this is something that the teachers are going to use to then build the task to send off to the students. And then finally, we have a Google form that is just a way for you to check in with your students in terms of what they're reading. It's similar to what we would do if we were in the classroom and we were doing reading conferences, which we know are so important. So we're going to talk to the kiddos about what they're reading, how many pages they've read, and then we have 2 different sections on there for them to answer questions about what they're reading, just so we can kind of touch base with them. This is also a great way for us to make sure, that we're staying in contact with our kiddos right now. As a high school teacher, we have sometimes 150 students. So trying to, it's like playing whack-a-mole sometimes, trying to find them all. So this is a great way, if we can send this out and have them, even if they're submitting it once a week, we can open up that chain of communication with them.
Yeah, I love that you're using Google Forms there. I feel like Google Forms is kind of the MVP right now of G Suite for this JCPS NTI. My wife is a speech language pathologist, and she was actually showing me a Google form that she created for her kids yesterday. So very
Yeah,
useful.
and they're so user friendly, and the kids are accustomed to them already. So I think it's a great tool for us to be using.
And about that Google form, if you choose to use it, to make a copy of it, and you can modify and change it for yourself. I know that for middle school, I think it was designed like a student would do that each day that they read, but I modified that version for high school to make it a weekly report in as opposed to a daily. So as the teacher, you can make a copy of that and then make any kinds of changes or revisions that you want to that would be best for you and your students.
Jenny, I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because that's another thing about the independent reading. I would not, even though we want them reading daily, I would not expect them to do any sort of response or assessment or task daily. Once a week would be good, but encourage that reading daily, and then maybe on Fridays, that's when they submit something to you to talk about what they read during the week.
Okay, thank you, Jessica, for talking about independent reading. We still have the chat going on, so if anybody has questions, I've been trying to monitor that. Now Jess will jump over and try to do some monitoring of that. I'm going to talk a little bit about remote book clubs. So in both the middle school and high school, we've been trying to push in book clubs into our cohort classrooms. And I feel very fortunate that on Friday, this past Friday, Facing History and Ourselves came out with a great resource for remote book clubs. Timing is perfect, and there are a lot of great resources here that we can use. I have the actual document to Facing History linked here. You can also go to Facing History, and I think it's facinghistoryandourselves.org, and it'll take you there. Within this slide deck, I've pulled a lot of the resources from them. We'll just look at some of those. So while independent reading is fantastic, and I hope that you can do that, if you want to take it to the next level and try to do remote book clubs, here are some resources for you. Our goal with book clubs is to try to keep kids reading and try to keep them connected, especially during this time when we're all isolated in a sense. So we want to make sure we are keeping kids connected, but we're also giving them choice. With book clubs, there's going to have to be a little more guidance from you as a teacher to get them set up and going and in books. But once that piece is done on the front end, there can be a lot of flexibility there for students to make decisions and have their own conversations around books. So a couple of guidelines, and some of these are similar for what we have for independent reading. Give them choice and autonomy. Have them set daily reading goals. It might be for a certain amount of time each day, or it might be a certain amount of pages. If it's book club, then we've got multiple students reading this text together to have conversations. The reading goals might be more around pages than around time. And those would be goals that the students set together as a book club. When getting book clubs together, you'll want to make sure the size is manageable. Usually 2 to 4 kids in a club would be ideal so that all kids can make their voice heard. I think we've all been on some of these presentations where we've got 15 people's faces on a screen, and having a conversation is not ideal. We can chat and we can say something every now and then, but we really want kids to be able to have conversations, whether they're face-to-face on a screen or in Google Docs or some form. So keeping the sizes of the groups manageable would be really helpful. Also, you supporting those meetings, popping in on any virtual meetings that they have, or if it's through Google Docs or things like that, helping support them and provide encouragement and resources for them. and making sure we're leveraging digital tools to make these work. We have learned about so many digital tools that are available during this time, and I don't ever believe there's a one size that fits all. So you need to help kids choose which tools work for them. I'm sure that there are virtual tools that kids would use that we wouldn't choose, but will be way more intuitive and user-friendly for them. So if you want book clubs, you've got to have books. So Jessica shared some great resources through independent reading. Absolutely use those. Here's some other resources that Facing History and Ourselves has provided. If you click on the link that I provided you at the beginning of the slide deck, you can access their presentation, and all of what you see in this slide are hot links into what they have. But these are just some lists that you might want to look at and try to curate some choices for students. You know, books for me, it's kind of like shopping. I can't go into a big store like Macy's or Dillard's and shop. There are just way too many choices. I get way too overwhelmed, and I just end up turning around and walking out and not buying anything. But if I go to a smaller store, let's say New York and Company, that I'm very familiar with, it's easy for me to shop there. Kids are the same way with books. If you just say, pick a book, readers, they're going to get overwhelmed. But if you can narrow down options for them, sometimes that makes it a little easier for them to choose. So these are just some lists, some titles that might speak to them. And I especially like that these are current events, or they might represent kids who generally are represented in books. So I would encourage you, if you're trying to curate lists of titles for students, to go to that Facing History on some of these lists. I don't know that I would give students this list and have them choose from all of it, but I think it's a great place for you as a teacher to start. You can also introduce kids to some books and help them make an informed choice. You know, something that Jessica and I absolutely love to do at the beginning of a school year is go and give book talks. We'll go into the teacher's classroom and look at the titles that they have on their bookshelves, and we'll take books and we'll just do quick book talks for kids to tell them what it's about. And it's always so amazing because kids who don't like reading are like, oh, I like Tupac. I want to read that book. Oh, that's poetry? I think I would like that. So you've got to give kids some options. And here's some on the slide. You might read the first paragraph of a few books, do some short book talks. Go online and look at book trailers for books. Publishers provide them for you. You don't have to make them. And you can reach out to kids in your classroom who are voracious readers and ask them, what are some great books and things to do for book groups? And let them do some book talks or introduce them.
Hey, Jenny, I'm just going to interject. During this time of NTI, if you really want to do book talks with your kids and you have no idea where to start, please reach out to us. I would be more than happy to sit down in front of the computer and talk about books with kids. I could do virtual book talks to a class through Google Classroom, or just film some videos for them to send out.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jess. And same for me. And I would suspect our middle school colleagues would be so willing to do the same. So after you introduce kids to books, let them choose which books they want to read. Let them choose their groups. And if narrowing down options to books is just a little too overwhelming and too much, you can see suggestions there on the right from Facing History. You might consider genre. Maybe you've got 5 kids who are into graphic novels. Put them in a group together. Or you've got some kids who really love a certain author, the Hate You Give books, or books around those kinds of things. Put them together in a group, by author, by theme, by genre, whatever that might look like. During this time of NTI, I keep hearing over and over flexibility, and you have to provide flexibility and options here for students. Go ahead, Jeff.
Diane in the chat. So Diane Cole the middle school instructional coach that I love dearly. She also wanted to point out that Project Lit Books is a wonderful resource for reluctant readers.
Great. Thanks, Diane. Once they're in these groups, you're going to have to help them get organized and help them know the different ways they can communicate their learning about their books. There's some suggestions there. They might do some kind of online journals, blogs, emails. I know a lot of our teachers use Padlet and Flipgrid. Those could be options, or virtual meetings. And then helping them plan that first meeting. They are not going to know what to do. So you're going to have to help them maybe establish some norms. You might want to help them create a contract and then create a schedule, really, most importantly. We're working on a timeline here. So this is not something that you want to drag on and on. Maybe figure out how to create that meeting and that meeting schedule. And then here are some questions for to consider for that first meeting, like how many weeks is this going to last, and how often are you going to meet, and what's the technology? And as a teacher, how are you going to check in with those groups to see how they're doing? Is it going to be through a weekly meeting? Is it going to be through a Google form or a Google Doc, whatever that is? It's important that you check in with them, encourage them, and keep them going. And it would sure be cool if, as the teacher, if you can't read all of the books that kids are reading, at least read bits and pieces of them so that you can engage with kids around the text. And then finally, here at the end is another screenshot from some of the resources from Facing History in terms of what they have for you. On the left are the handouts. If you click on the link earlier in the slide deck, you'll see those are the resources, the handouts that you can get. And I think they are in PDF and in an editable document. I see a question on here from Evelyn about, is there a tutorial to this? If you're talking about this presentation, there are the resources from Facing History at that link. And then there are questions to consider for support groups. So lots of great resources for you there as a teacher to facilitate these. But if we think about this, at the end of the day, we just want kids to read. We want them to talk about those books and connect with one another, and try to be flexible in this process and give them options, give them guidance, and just try to get them into some books.
And if you're nervous about starting the book clubs during NTI, please feel free to reach out to either Jenny or to me, and we would love to help you structure some book clubs and provide some guidance as you set those up for your students.
And this presentation is linked in the schedule, so you can access it there.
Excellent. Looks like, do we have any lingering questions out there in the chat? Doesn't look like. I think you guys got to everything. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing today, Jenny and Jessica. Up next at 10 o'clock is Self-Care for Adults with Christina Johnson and Lisa McGarry. That starts at 10 o'clock. And so right now, we're going to take a look at that schedule. And like Jenny just mentioned, and like Jenny was saying, the resources for this session can be found on that JCPS Virtual Training Support schedule. And if you just click on Jenny Aberly and Jessica Brzezinski's names, it links to their presentation. All you do is click that link and you have a copy of their resources. So that's where you would find that. Okay, we've got a minute, so let's just share a couple more yes cards, virtual yes cards. I'm going to refresh my window here. And this one's from Jenny Falcone, a fifth grade teacher at Field Elementary, excellent fifth grade teacher. She said, these are her teammates, I'm guessing. Emily and Kara, you both really have been crushing it with NTI. You have gone above and beyond for our team. All the kiddos are lucky to have both of you, such dedicated and intentional teachers. I am loving seeing us grow as a team and work through many challenging obstacles. I'm so impressed by your abilities. Jenny Falcone, and that's to Emily Pinkerton and Kara Bug, teammates at Field Elementary. All right, one more. Allison Heinrich at Wellington Elementary. She wrote 4 yes cards, so there's no rule. You can write just one, right? So Hannah, the way you're making NTI run, just like your classroom would at a school, is absolutely amazing. Your Google Classroom is filled with engaging, high-quality resources for your families. You are recording yourself teaching lessons and giving feedback on student work. Your students are lucky to have you. It is so fun to have an innovative coworker like you, Allison Heinrich, and that is to Hannah Jewell at Wellington Elementary. Excellent. All right, so I'll tell you what, these virtual yes cards, they are catching on. If you want to send one, go to my Twitter, at Russ Hockenberry, and click on my pinned tweet, tinyurl.com/yescardjcbs, and fill out your virtual yes card to someone in JCBS who is rocking NTI. All right, so let's get back to our show. And so up next, we have Self-Care for Adults During a Pandemic with Christina Johnson and Lisa McGarry. Hello, Christina and Lisa. Are you there?
Good morning. Yes, Lisa is here.
Good morning. All right. This has been a really popular show this week. It brings the energy.
We are glad to hear it and glad to do it.
All right. Excellent. All right. So go ahead. Take it away.
All right. So good morning and thank you for joining us. My name is Lisa McGarry and I am a resource teacher with Social Emotional Learning. And Shay and I are going to talk to you today about some self-care during this time period. Shay, are you on here with me? Okay, well, I guess when she gets on, she'll introduce herself. First off, I want to present to you our contact information. This is something that will show up again at the end of the presentation, but if there's anybody out there who needs resources, we were able to get some to some teachers yesterday, but if there's anybody who has any questions and you don't feel comfortable asking them in the chat or getting them answered that way, or want some resources, find yourself in need of some things you want to share with your online classes, please feel free to email any one of us at our email addresses that you see here. 3 of us are resource teachers, Jen Driscoll, myself, and Christina Johnson on email, but she goes by Shay, and then our boss, Dr. Lamisa Marks Johns. So again, feel free to reach out, and if you don't catch it here, the information will be again at the end. Our goals this morning are to learn how to manage stress and anxiety, as well as creating a self-care plan so that we are paying attention to the needs of adults and ourselves as we are going through all of these unknown times with the coronavirus and working from home, trying to teach students from home, all of those different things. With all of our trainings, we include a self-care alert. So sometimes the information that we talk about is hard to hear. Therefore, if you find yourself overwhelmed and in need of taking a break, feel free to do so. Walk away from this video. I know that it's being recorded, and so you'll be able to access it later. We are also doing this again tomorrow at 10 and Friday at 10. So if you miss any part of it and feel like you need to come back to it later, feel free to do so. If you need to talk to somebody, feel free to put things in the chat. We have Dr. Lamisa Marks Johns and Dr. Jennifer Driscoll who are in the chat responding to any questions or concerns that come up, or if you need to phone a friend, do that as well. Find some ways to relax, do those things that you do in a normal situation, some deep breathing, just taking 10 minutes for yourself, sitting outside, whatever it might be to help you relax. Shay, are you on here with me yet? Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is the coronavirus itself. This is something that has been created a worldwide pandemic by the World Health Organization, and because of the uncertainty that comes with it, it is something that brings about some fear and worry to many of us, not knowing when this is going to end, when we are going to be able to understand that we are on the other side of the cases, that we're not going to be inundated with information about it. If there's going to be a vaccine, what treatment is going to be working to help fight this so that people are healing versus becoming sicker with this. So we want to honor that this is a time of increased fear, worry, and anxiety. It's important to understand that this is something that we need to remain aware of. Finding out information about the virus and the response that is being given to it by our local and national government, so that we are able to also manage our reactions. This is something as teachers that we learn and find out that the way that we react to things will also dictate how our students and those around us react. I remember when we started the intruder drills or the active shooter drills, and I remember times where there were fire drills and I was in front of a class full of kids and thinking to myself, I don't know what's going on, but I have to keep myself calm and together, because if I don't, then my students are going to respond to that and not know what they need to do, or are going to respond in the ways in which I do. So this is another one of those situations where we need to be aware that our reactions affect those around us. So therefore, we need to manage those and do our best to make sure we are putting ourselves first, taking care of our own needs, so that we are able to do this in healthy ways. As we go through this epidemic, understand that anxiety and increased nervousness is normal. Don't beat yourself up if you are feeling more anxious or stressed out at this time. This is normal, and we need to use it as something that we honor and then find ways to manage it. There are some positive things that can come from this in the motivation of maintaining good hygiene habits, setting those examples for those around us, making sure that we are keeping ourselves and those that we are around safe, minimizing that contact, helping younger children learn how to wash their hands, showing them how to do it for 20 seconds, singing a song with them to get them into that habit. So it's something that will continue to increase and maintain and go on as we get through this and come out on the other side of this. Shay, do I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can, man. You want to introduce yourself real quick before I get going on the
Hello,
rest?
everybody. I had to switch over to my phone. My computer's acting up. I'm Christina Johnson, other known as Shay. Glad to be here again today to share self-care strategies.
We're glad to have you. You've been really popular, so we're glad you're back.
Thank you.
And thanks for doing that, Shay, getting yourself on here so that we are able to go through this, showing some of the things that we talk about in our other trainings, and being resilient and flexible to make things work even when technology is down. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is how to manage stress and anxiety, some tips as we go through this stressful time. One of the things that I want to point out is making sure that the information that you are tuning into is from trusted sources, not just from your best friend's brother on Facebook who happened to read a story or heard from his neighbor that this is what should be used or what people need to be doing. That the information is coming from our public health officials. They are coming from our governor or our mayor. I was sharing yesterday that I read an article of an older couple who heard in some facet that drinking some cleaner that you would use to clean out a fish tank would combat the coronavirus. So they drank it. Well, it obviously didn't work, but it's just an example of making sure that you are paying attention to those trusted sources for information that we need. Also, follow the guidelines to avoid the spread. Every day at 5 o'clock, Governor Beshear comes on and talks about those 10 guidelines. I watched him for a little bit yesterday, and he said, I say this every single day when I come on here. Make sure that you are washing your hands, that you are staying home, that we are social distancing. If you are going out in public, you're wearing a mask over your face or covering your face in some sort. So following those guidelines to not only protect yourself, but also those that you love. Some other tips to help manage your stress or anxiety is to prioritize those things that you would do on a regular basis when we weren't social distancing or working from home. Relaxation techniques that you know, using any mindfulness apps. I know that there are several that are free to teachers. The Calm app is one that is free to teachers, and several others as we have been researching, finding things that are available at this time for free use. Even finding ways to use YouTube, finding meditations there. Anything, other resources that you might find and share. I have seen in the chat as we've gone through this, people are sharing some other apps and things that they are aware of that are available for use. And I am sure as teachers, you are using those with your students, but don't forget to also use them for yourself. Exercise is another good way to manage stress at any time, getting those positive endorphins moving through your body to maintain and help process those negative ones that come with stress and anxiety. Another thing to be mindful of is not overwhelming yourself with information. It's not necessarily important that you know the numbers every single day. Now, granted, I know that they share them, but that is something that can become overwhelming. I also have learned in being at home that the news comes on every 30 minutes for about 4 hours, it seems, during a good chunk of the day. I don't know that it's necessary to watch that for 4 hours straight, or watching it in the morning time and then in the afternoon and then in the evening and then before you go to bed. Don't let yourself become overwhelmed with the news and all of the things that they are sharing, unless you are being like Mr. Rogers and looking for the helpers and finding those positive things going on. So there are several things that I have seen. I just saw something this morning about some park rangers from Yosemite that said that the black bears are coming out. And not that the population has increased, but they are not having to go around cars or people who are in the national park. So they are just traveling all through the parks. I got to watch a video this morning of a black bear climbing a tree. So there are some positive things that we can find if we look for them. So find those moments and let yourself relish in them or be in awe that here sitting in Louisville, Kentucky, I can watch live feed from Yosemite National Park, where, you know, when I was this age or even in college, that was not something that we could see live feed from. So find those moments of positive news to counterbalance all of those other pieces of news that are creating stress and anxiety. All right, Shay.
Hello. This is so different. All right, so I'm on my phone, so I hope y'all can see me. Taking care of yourselves. For the next few slides, we're going to be talking about taking care of the most important person in the whole wide world, and that is you with your beautiful self. All right, because we know that we cannot pour from an empty cup. Can't do that. It's not going to work. All right, Lisa.
Okay.
So when you hear of the term self-care, what are some things that come to mind? Please chime in on the chat board. What are some things that come to mind? Lisa, talk to me.
Oh, girl. So self-care, last night I went to bed early because I felt like I was exhausted. This tree pollen is overwhelming my allergies.
Yeah.
So that was my self-care yesterday.
Yeah. Who's helping us today?
Russ Hockenberry.
Russ,
So,
talk to me now.
yeah, so self-care, taking a walk. That's kind of what my wife and I do. We just take walks. So that's our self-care.
Oh, sounds romantic and mind clearing.
What about you, Shay?
Well, self-care, I like to sing. I like to laugh, and that doesn't sound relaxing, but self-care is taking care of myself. And I like experiencing any type of joys. So let's go to the next slide and define it. So self-care, I need it on the big screen.
It's on there. There's a bit of a delay.
All right. So self-care is an active role in protecting your own well-being and, love this word, happiness, in particular during the periods of stress. And COVID-19 has caused, I'm sure, most of us a lot of stress. But it's an active role. How do you take care of your own well-being? My self-care is not going to be your self-care. Maybe you want to cuddle up with your dog, and maybe I want to look at a really funny movie. All right, Lisa. All right, so let's talk about things you can't control, because the pandemic has shown us that we can't control a lot of things right now. One being the pandemic, right? We turn on the news and we see the deaths, and we see people who are now infected by the illness. We can't control that. We can't, but we can control is limiting the time that you watch the news. It can become very, very depressing. Another thing you can't control, we tell our kids all the time, get a schedule, get a schedule, get a schedule. Okay, what about us? Won't we benefit for a schedule as well? You know, allow yourself to sleep in and say, listen, when I get up, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And your day will go much more smoother if you put yourself on a schedule. Do you have to stick to it? That's your self-care. You decide that. But giving yourself the option of having a schedule, promise you it works. Lisa. All right. So what I like to do more than anything is to have fun. No one wants to sit in the house on the couch all day doing absolutely nothing. I know I don't. So I have 2 kids at home, which it benefits us during this time of COVID. And 2 days ago, I just cooked a big batch of popcorn for them, and I told them to get on the opposite side of the room, open your mouth, and we had a tossing game. So that brought a lot of laughter, a lot of fun. It probably cost $2.99, right? A box of popcorn, $2.99. So look for ways you can have fun. And why? I promise you, it is beneficial. We're going to talk about laughter and joy and the benefits of that. But try to find those small joys and have fun while we are in this COVID. Next. All right, so find reasons to laugh. Do you laugh a lot? And if not, what is the reason? You have to turn your frown upside down. What makes you laugh? Find that guy or that girl that you can get on the phone with and tell stories that's going to make you ha ha, he he, ho ho, right? We need laughter just as much as we need toilet paper right now. It is a necessity, guys. Let's look at the benefits of laughter. All right, so it relaxes the whole entire body, right? You can't be stiff and laugh, or stiff and tell a joke. Ain't gonna work, right? Let's look at more. It improves your mood. It's probably a little difficult to be in a really salty, funky mood and giggle at the same time. It's not gonna work. It's like an oxymoron. Laughter gives you more energy, right? Laughter enhances resilience. And what do we need more than anything right now? Resilience. And we try to teach our kids how to be resilient. Hey, adults need it too. Laughter protects the heart. It also protects the brain. Let me tell you something. There is a stress hormone. And if we've been to your school to present before, we talk about that cortisol and how. So what we want to do is practice bringing dopamine. I love saying that word. I don't know why. Dopamine into your body. That is the healthy, happy hormone, right? And if you just laugh out loud during the day, find reasons, find the joys, you are actually bringing healthy hormones in your body. The opposite, cortisol. What does cortisol bring? Strokes, heart attack, sad moods, cursing out folks, all those crazy things. So you want to invite dopamine into your body so you can just be a happy soul. And who needs that? You need it. Your family needs it. Your students need it, right? Start off by telling a joke, right, with your students. All right, I promise you the mood will change. All right, Lisa. All right, this is probably my favorite. Yeah, so I try to wake up every day before I turn on the news. I try to start with a grateful heart. How much does that cost? Absolutely nothing. You don't even have to get on Amazon to buy gratefulness, right? It's right here. So I wrote 3 down today. I'm doing this every single day. I think about before I get out of bed, what am I grateful for? And here's my 3 for today. Now, if you can see this, I'm going to try to put it up to 2. You see that? I am grateful for 1, air in my lungs, right? Why do you say that, Shay? Because we need machines to make or help people breathe, right? That's in the news. I'm grateful for I can do it on my own. Things we take for granted, guys. Things we take for granted, that should automatically put a smile on your face. You don't need a machine to help you breathe. I'm grateful for the air in my lungs. Number 2 for today, I'm grateful for water. Another thing we take for granted, right? Water. Wash my clothes, take a shower, drink throughout the day. Think about if we didn't have that. And there's people around the world who do not have that. Things we take for granted. Water. Clean water, right? And my 3rd one for today, I'm grateful for heat in my home. Another thing we take for granted, right? And so last night was pretty chilly. And I got up and I just fixed the thermostat to 74, right? Okay. There's students and there's people around the world today that does not have heat. So I'm grateful for that. Listen, and I'm thankful and grateful that our city has provided, if you cannot pay your LG&E bill, hey, they're not cutting you off. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? All right. And so, Lisa, let me stay on this. Go back 1.
Okay.
Go back 1 to the grateful. Right. All right. It also tells us to express your gratitude to others. Let me share this with you. This is another self-care tip. If you go down your contact list, right, and find people, maybe 5 people a day, just I'm thankful for, and you fill in the blank. I'm thankful for the times we've got to spend together. Right. I'm thankful for sharing a meal with you back in January. I thank you for being a really good friend that I can call on. Right. Guess what? It reciprocates and that brings self-care to your body. And what else? Dopamine. All right, Lisa, let's go to a chart. We're creating our own plan. And if you're at home and you want to just get paper and divide it into 3 columns, 3 things that we are grateful for. And I've shared mine. Lisa, give me 1 or 2.
So one thing that I have been, well, I'm going to tell you 2 gratefuls here in the last week is realizing that there is nobody who I know personally who has been affected by the coronavirus. I am very grateful that no one that I know has been hospitalized or affected or tested positive, none of those things. That is something that I'm extremely grateful for. So there's also a show that we were watching on TV the other night where they were showing a home in the Philippines and the ways in which they have to shower, and the fact that there was this big fat rat on some shoes in this open area where they shower made me stop and think, sort of like what you said, that you're grateful for heat, that I am grateful that I have a home. There's a roof over my head every single day. I don't have to worry about not being able to stay in this, because here comes a 3rd grateful. We have a job that allows us to continue to be paid, and there was never a question of, oh my gosh, how am I going to make the bills? Am I going to have to ask for assistance from LG&E? So thankful and grateful for all of those things that have been in place in my life.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. We're moving to the next column. 3 things that bring me joy. Is it Mr. Chuck? Come on, Mr. Chuck. What brings you joy? Talk to us.
Okay.
Russ, Shay.
That's right, Russ. Yes. So 3 things that bring me joy. So one thing, my daughter and my wife bring me joy, and my dog. There's 3 things, but like also, Superstore on NBC has its finale next week. I'm excited for that. That brings me joy. NBC Superstore. So we still have some great TV on. That brings me joy. So lots of good things.
All right. And we're hopping to the last column. Guys in the chat room, I hope you're typing in things that bring you joy and what you're grateful for, because we want to share. We want to share that. We want to get some ideas.
We do. We have a lot of people.
Things that I can do to have fun. Whoop. Listen, I like to dance. I like to sing. And so my song yesterday, okay, here it goes. I want to dance with somebody. Okay, that brings me joy. So, what's up, Lisa? What brings you, I'm sorry. That was what I can do to have fun. Have a dance party, right? So we take turns. I pick a song, then my husband picks a song, then DJ pick a song, and then my daughter picks a song, and we all have to dance, right? Or participate in the song that's being played. Let me see, it's 10:23. Okay, Lisa, give me one thing you do to have fun.
I like playing board games with my family.
Yes. What's your favorite?
I like categories, Trivial Pursuit, things like that.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide.
All right.
All right. So one of my favorite things to do, I have a lot of favorites. I love mindfulness, and having fun is okay. And singing and laughing and dancing and dopamine, all those things are wonderful, right? We're switching gears and we're tuning into mindfulness. And there's a long definition that you see, but I like to keep it very plain and simple. And mindfulness is simply paying attention to the present. That's it. Paying attention to the present. How your body feels right now, what emotions are in your brain right now, and paying attention to that, right? And appreciating that, right? It's not a happy thing, a sad thing. Mindfulness is what it is. It's just paying attention to the present. When people think of mindfulness, they think of yoga, they think of breathing. Yes, all those things are part of mindfulness, but that's not it. That's not all. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to do a very short mindful meditation. Lisa, let's do it for 1 minute, 30 seconds.
All right.
So please sit comfortably and listen to the music and follow the directions on your phone. It's just going to be a small bubble, and we're just going to inhale, and we're going to exhale. And I know we do this because we're live, but we're going to do it intentionally this time, right? Okay, Lisa, we're ready. Sit comfortably, and here we go. Not Greg Fisher.
Hold on.
Stand by. I want to dance with somebody. Want to feel the heat with somebody. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're breathing in. And out. And in. And out. In. Out. In. And out. All right, Lisa, you can stop that, please. All right, so we just wanted to put that in as an example of bringing calm. Yeah, bringing calm to your body by just simply breathing, intentional breathing. It costs absolutely nothing, right? Take time throughout the day to just stop and just breathe. And there's many, many, many benefits to deep breathing. All right, so we see on our screen now a message from our wonderful Greg Fisher. I just want to share with you one sentence that I really love. He said, "Things will be different for a time." He didn't say permanently, for a time, right? I've never had to stand outside of Walmart and have someone to tell me to wait until someone comes out. So it's going to be different for a time. Can we change it? No. He said, but there's no reason that we can't try and enjoy ourselves, right? So you have two choices during this pandemic. You can be a couch potato and be sad and think about it and watch the news all day, or you can turn that frown upside down and you can have fun and enjoy yourself, come up with new goals, enjoy talking to people in video chat. And I choose the latter, right? And then he says, learn something new, right? So all the people out there saying, I can't cook, guess what? You got time today and keep our minds and our bodies active and healthy during the crisis. And we can do that. And I like to say it costs absolutely nothing to journal your grateful feelings, nothing to phone a friend and tell them how much you appreciate them, nothing to get up and exercise and move your body, nothing to find something funny to laugh at, right? We have to learn to enjoy ourselves and to take care of ourselves, because at the beginning or in the middle, there was a sticky note that said you are special, and you absolutely are. There is no one in the world like you. Please take care of you. Thank you so much for watching today.
Excellent.
We'll be back tomorrow at 10.
Thank you so much. Just real quick, we had some people in the comments that mentioned stuff they do to have fun or relax. Like Jennifer Driscoll said that I believe she was the one that said she took she enjoys quiet moments. Danielle Mullen says she finds joy in taking walks with their two children. Lots of people commented about what they do. Barbara Johnson says she loves listening to music. So thank you for participating in the chat, guys. And thank you guys for sharing your expertise today. All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Up next, we have a show on COVID-19, caring for yourself and others, with Ava Stone. Hello, Ava.
Hello, how are you?
Great. And so this is we have not broadcast this show yet, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so brand new show here, COVID-19, caring for yourself and others. Are you ready to go?
I am. You might have to tell me where I want to share my screen. Here we go.
Yep, you got it?
Got it. Yes.
Perfect.
Angela Hayes is on here with me as well.
Hello, Angela.
Hello.
All right, so we're just going to talk a little bit about COVID-19, just a little bit of facts. Feel free to ask questions, and we will answer them the best we can. I've got lots of material, so I'll go through it quickly, and then we'll save some time at the end, I hope, for some questions, or if we need to answer them along the way, we'd be glad to. We're going to talk about the signs and symptoms of COVID-19, talk about steps to take if you develop symptoms or someone in your family develops symptoms or actually has it and you're aware of it. Describe ways to protect yourself or your family members from infection, and then talk about ways to care for others during times of stress and isolation, which is just what you finished talking about in the last session. So signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Of course, we all know we've been saturated with information about this virus, but the first few hours, people tend to have fever and fatigue and sore throat.
Hold on, Ava. Are you sharing your screen?
Yes.
Try again. Let's see.
All right.
And by the way, guys, I'm Russ Hockenberry, Digital Innovation Lead for Zone 3 Elementary Schools. And I'm joined by Ava Stone. Ava, what's your role in JCPS?
I manage health services for the district.
Cool, awesome. And then Angela, what's Angela's last name?
Angela Hayes. I'm one of the nurse practitioners.
All right.
Try again. Let's try this again.
How's
that?
Yeah, very good. We got you. Awesome. You're on.
Okay. Now I can't see it.
It just takes a second. It does that funny like Inception Matrix thing.
Yeah, like Star Wars.
Exactly. And then you'll want to click on. Tell you what, click on see where it says COVID-19 caring for yourself. Your slideshow up top.
Yep.
Click on that.
There we go.
Yep, you're good now. Good to go.
Okay. All right. So we talked about what we're going to talk about. So the first few hours.
One more thing. Down at the bottom, do you see where it says closed captions or captions?
Yep.
If you could click on that and then just allow. Excellent.
How's
Perfect.
that?
Yep.
There
Great.
we go. Okay.
That's yours then. Hey.
Feel better. That's what I do when I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go through some breakfast.
Yep, and then later on I have to answer.
Rest.
Or after live streams, that's the YouTube. Like I haven't YouTube.
I have like a total delay.
Maybe we should. But see, what happened to me is I didn't even know I was off air.
I say he may not know.
And you know what's weird? This maybe it's just a.
Hey, Kathleen.
Hey, are you okay?
It looks like it went off. So I refreshed the live streaming. Now that where I refreshed.
I refreshed the Google chat too. Or the Google Meet or the Hangout, I mean, not the chat, the Hangout. Yeah.
All right. See.
Uh-oh.
I'm thirsty for some chocolate milk.
Two. Let's be reasonable, too.
Oh my gosh, some chocolate milk. Yeah, I'm still hungry.
We've had a family meeting, and we decided to put this on pause for Christmas Day. So we should have a little bit kids for Santa Christmas. Let's go play. Well, it's day 2.
Okay. And so now I need to. Okay, I'm back on this screen. I need to. The screen's red, and I need to go to. I need to click on that, select screen share, and I need to go to application window, Hangouts video call, share. I need to. After that, I'm going to go to the. Okay, so I've just selected the Hangout thing, and I need to go to what now? Remind me, please. RMP. Oh, there's not. It's not on there. Just like you said.
Okay, so does it say you said at the top?
It says J Space Digital Learning Channel up the top.
If you click on it,
It looks like we're back. We back? Oh, we're back. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. And we're back. All right. Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm going to go back a slide because
Yeah.
how long were we off?
We were gone a few minutes. So yeah, like let's yeah. There you go. Just go. There you go. Perfect.
So if you develop symptoms of COVID-19, you want to isolate yourself from family members and pets as much as you can. If there's an increase in symptoms along with shortness of breath, you want to contact your healthcare provider. If you're going anywhere to be seen, call ahead and let them know that you're coming. But if symptoms are severe, you want to call 911. and get some emergency help. So as far as testing goes, there's still a shortage of swabs in Kentucky. So if you've been listening to the governor, at first they talked about just testing the sickest people. Now they're trying to expand that testing capacity, and they're doing some drive-through partnership with Kroger. I think in the Frankfort area is one, and then Northern Kentucky is another one they've started. And at first they said they were just they've got tiers for those people that they'll test, but now they're trying to test people who are symptomatic. And testing is really important because that'll give us a bigger idea of what's going on with the virus and where there are pockets of virus that needs to be addressed. But remember, knowing the test results really doesn't change treatment options. So if you're just mildly sick with symptoms and you think that you have it, it's still best to stay home and care for yourself at home unless those symptoms get severe. And then again, testing will expand when more supplies become available. If you've got a loved one that's positive for COVID-19 or having symptoms of COVID-19, have them wear a cloth face covering that covers their nose and mouth when they're around anybody else. You've heard a lot of talk about masks. We know that there is a major shortage of personal protective equipment. So those hospital grade type of masks, surgical masks or the N95 masks really need to be in the hands of healthcare providers. The Centers for Disease Control, CDC website, actually has a page that you can go to, though, that will show you how to make cloth masks, and those can be sewn, but those can actually be made out of T-shirts or other materials. And the guidelines right now say anytime you go out in public yourself, it's good to cover your nose and mouth with a cloth mask. But very important for someone who's sick, because that's the primary reason for that mask, is to keep those germs from getting to other people. But if the person who's sick can't wear a cloth face covering because sometimes they're having some shortness of breath, you should wear one while you're in the same room with them. And then if the sick person needs to be around others within the home, in a vehicle, or a healthcare provider's office, they should wear a cloth face covering that covers their mouth and their nose. Hand washing, you will always hear us say hand washing is the most important thing to prevent any illness. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, but it's very important if you've been interacting with the sick person. And then if soap and water aren't available, use a hand sanitizer that's got at least 60% alcohol content. Cover all the surfaces of your hands, and then you want to rub them together until they feel dry. One of the benefits of wearing a mask is because it helps remind us not to touch our nose and our mouth, but you really want to avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Now, when I've been out to the grocery store or other places, I've seen people who are walking around in public with gloves on, but no mask. And really, gloves aren't going to do you much good if you're still touching surfaces with those gloves on, and then you touch your eyes, nose, or mouth, because those are going to be contaminated with germs just like if you didn't have gloves on at all. So the value in wearing gloves really is only if you're also covering your nose and mouth, or being very intentional about not touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. And then every day in your home, you want to clean all surfaces that are touched often, like countertops, tabletops, and doorknobs. You can use regular household cleaning sprays, and if you have a question of whether it's effective against this COVID-19 virus, you can actually go to the FDA's website, and they have a list of products that are available effective against COVID-19. But also, you can mix a 1 to 10 bleach solution, and that's effective against the virus. But you really want to pay attention to cleaning those frequently used surfaces often. So again, you're caring for somebody who's sick with the virus. You want to make sure that in doing laundry, that you want to wash the laundry thoroughly. You want to wear disposable gloves, and then keep the soiled items away from your body while you're laundering. But not everybody has disposable gloves available at home, and so the guidelines are to wash your hands immediately after touching the laundry, either after you take the gloves off if you have access to them, but if you don't, be sure to wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap and water. In your home, you want to avoid having any unnecessary visitors. And then if you have any particular additional questions about the care of your family member, contact your healthcare provider or the health department. And of course, Kentucky has a hotline that you can call for more information on follow-up. Again, this is taking care of somebody who's known to have the virus. And so what we'll talk about next is just treating the symptoms that they're having. So anytime somebody's got a fever, you want to make sure that they drink a lot of fluid to stay hydrated. That's not always easy, especially if somebody's having the gastrointestinal symptoms, because they may be nauseated, but it's real important to stay hydrated. Gatorade, those fluids that replace electrolytes, are always good also. Over-the-counter medicines may help with symptoms. Early on, you may have heard people saying don't use ibuprofen for folks with this virus because they thought it might have a negative effect, but they've changed their stance on that. So really, acetaminophen or Tylenol or ibuprofen is okay to take for fever-reducing. If that's necessary. A low-grade fever is fine. You don't have to treat that fever. A lot of people report that they have some joint achiness when they have the virus, and so a medication like ibuprofen will be more effective because it's an anti-inflammatory. Acetaminophen doesn't reduce inflammation, so it won't be as effective in helping with achiness. For most people, symptoms will last a few days and get better after a week. So again, when somebody's positive for the virus, when do we want to end home isolation? And so home isolation can be ended when there's no fever for at least 72 hours. And so as I'm saying this, a lot of this guidance is rather close to what we do for influenza, for the flu, but this is extended. With COVID-19, the time it takes to be back out in the public again is a little longer. So home isolation can be ended when there's no fever for at least 72 hours, and that's 3 full days of no fever without the use of any medicine to reduce fever. So no Tylenol, no ibuprofen, and going 3 full days without a fever. And then you want to make sure other symptoms have improved as well. So when the cough and shortness of breath have improved, and at least 7 days have passed since the symptoms first appeared. So this is going to be a full week, no matter what, before you can be around other people or your family member can be around other people. And again, there's still lots of questions and lots of work that's happening to try and determine how long the virus is spread, how easily the virus is spread. I actually read an article last night that talked about aerosolized virus. And so again, that's why they're recommending that you wear a mask when you go out in public, because the virus can kind of hang around in the air for up to 3 hours. And so what they've discovered in some of the things that happened in China is that patients were cared for in their rooms with COVID-19. And so they did a very good job of cleaning the room itself and keeping the virus from going out into the hallways and other areas of the healthcare facilities. But what they didn't pay a lot of attention to are bathrooms and toilets. And so because the virus is aerosolized, if it's in a bathroom and as people flush the commode, it actually can cause a kind of a plume of the virus. And so now they're going to start paying more attention to public bathrooms and things like that in determining how long the virus hangs around. So lots of new and interesting things with this virus that are just going to make us think in ways that we haven't been thinking before. But again, if you've had the virus, you're pretty sure you've had the virus, it's at least 7 days before 7 days of no symptoms, since your symptoms first started, before you should be back around others. So if you've been tested and you are, if you were tested and there's no longer a fever without the use of medicine, so a lot of our healthcare providers are being tested before they go back to work. So if someone was tested and there's no longer a fever without those fever-reducing medicines, and other symptoms have improved. So for example, the cough or the shortness of breath improves. And then there are 2 negative tests in a row, 24 hours apart. So 2 negative tests before they'll use that test to base your ability to be back out in the public. So what happens is, again, I said 80% of people who get this virus won't have severe symptoms. Of those people that do have severe symptoms, they last at least 7 days. But what has happened to a lot of the folks who are more at risk with this virus is they get these severe symptoms, and then we've heard a lot about ventilators and having enough ventilators. So there are groups of people who get this virus that develop these severe respiratory symptoms. And what typically happens with those people is they'll have symptoms for 5 to 7 days. And around day 5, those symptoms start getting worse. And when they start getting worse, if they end up needing to be on a ventilator, and especially with our elderly population, once they get on that ventilator, it's usually a couple of weeks before we really know that if they start improving and can come off that ventilator. But it's around that time that you'll see people really start to do worse. And so most of the time when somebody passes with COVID-19, it's several weeks into the process because of that time they've spent on the ventilator. There's different reasons why they think this is happening. And one of it is because this is a brand new virus. Our immune systems don't know what to do with it. And so sometimes our immune systems get overzealous, and that's what causes people to go on to develop the respiratory symptoms, kidney failure, and those things that really cause people to become very, very sick. So our healthcare providers at first, like what you'll see in the Jefferson County area, because we're limited in tests, they're really trying to save those tests to use on our healthcare providers, on our first responders who have been out with the virus. They need to get back to the workplace. And so they're focusing efforts here locally on using those tests for those folks. Now, if sometimes people, now that we have so many private labs that are doing tests, people will see their primary care provider who may order a test. Sometimes, I mean, at best, it's what we've been seeing is at least 5 to 7 days before we have results back on test. And so a lot of, I've seen several sessions where we're talking about self-care during this time. And I'm going to talk about it just a little differently, not so much as self-care while we're isolated. That's part of it, but also self-care while we're either taking care of ourselves while being ill or taking care of our family by being ill. And so talking a little bit about physical health, you've heard a lot said about eating healthy. And I think it's real important that we do think about what we're eating. I don't know about the rest of you all, but I've been stuck in my house, and my temptation to eat real well has not been high. It's really been more about eating a lot of junk food, which makes me feel so much better. But we need to eat a healthy, well-balanced diet, because that really is what helps our bodies to fight off the virus and to overcome. We need to drink plenty of water. We need to aim to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. It is important to exercise every day. Of course, if you're sick, that may not be happening so much, but if you're caring for somebody and you're by yourself and you're not able to exercise or get out and exercise, I would really encourage you to look for some online options. I know that I've read several places. Beachbody On Demand is doing a 2-week free trial. Les Mills On Demand. There's lots of videos on YouTube that you can use to exercise in the home if you're not able to get out and about, and that's if you're caring for someone else. Deep breaths, stretch often, avoid risky or destructive behaviors. And what I mean by that is, alcohol use, drug use, those kinds of things that will really break the body down and not help. Don't ignore public health recommendations. We've heard the governor talk about that a lot, but if you're getting recommendations from the CDC to stay healthy at home, that's what we need to be doing, because we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting others, but it's also important to listen to those recommendations we're getting about how to care for ourselves. And then we do want to be outside as much as possible. We just want to make sure that we're maintaining social distance. And mental health, we want to set and maintain a routine at home. That's hard to do. We don't have a good separation of work and home right now, working from home, but it's important to establish a routine, especially if you've got children at home. A lot of you are trying to juggle doing your children's work at home, doing your work at home. There may be several people in the house all trying to share devices. Those things get stressful. And so it's if you can set those things up into a routine, it will be very helpful. Focus on the things you can control. I heard some of that in the last session. There's a lot we can't control right now, but there's a lot we can, and we need to focus on those things we can control. Use technology to maintain social connections, which we've been doing a lot of. Focus on the present and things to be thankful for. There are things in this that I have found that I've had the occasion to stop and pause and really think about, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. It's an opportunity to just slow down and to evaluate things. My husband may think he's thankful that we were able to clean out the basement, which hadn't been done in a long time. Use music and books. Make sure that you're using reliable news sources. There are so many things being shared out there right now that just aren't good information. So stick to those reliable news sources. Social media doesn't tend to be one of those. And so lots of people are saying lots of things. Stick to those sources that are credible, evidence-based sources. And then, of course, your faith and personal beliefs are very important at this time. Limit exposure to things that make you anxious. And those are a lot of times that's related to media. And so control those things. And then there are things that need to be done in the community. We don't have as many volunteer opportunities as we have as far as getting out and doing things, but there are lots of opportunities to volunteer and do things from home. There's elderly people you can check on. If you are able to make masks, there's a great demand for masks, lots of things like that. And then just to share, on the website, the Academic Supports Program Department has posted some strategies for coping with uncertainty, and that's another reference. I've listed the title and the link in case you're interested, but you can find that on the JCPS website. And with that, I wanted to leave the last 5 minutes or so just to take any questions folks may have that Angela and I may be able to help with.
Looking at the chat, it doesn't look like we have too many questions. This was a great session, though, and full of excellent information. I love that you guys, both this session and the last session, reinforced, get your information from trusted sources, not social media. We've all got that uncle on Facebook spreading crazy information. Don't trust that uncle. Get your information from those trusted sources out there. So that's excellent. Thank you for sharing today.
Sure.
Absolutely. And so up next we have, let's look at our schedule. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Share my entire screen. All right. Up next we have, screen big. We've got ECE, No Tech, Low Tech, No Tech Part 2 with Cindy Simpson. And then it looks like a split session, EC, What to Do with IAs with Gina Gibson-Hurst. Okay. And I'm sure Gina's going to explain what an IA is. I'm curious about that, what that is. Looks like we have 4 minutes to our next session. Since we have that little break, let's take a look at some virtual yes cards. And so some virtual yes cards here on Twitter. I'm going to look at what we've got going on. Let's see. This is from Elaine Abernatha. And Elaine, one of our digital innovation leaders, she says that she's recognizing Chelsea Haynes at Newburgh Middle School. She's the DP Vills coach. She says, as a Verizon Innovative Learning Coach, thank you for assisting in the further innovation at Newburgh. We love seeing what you're doing. Okay. Let's look at another one. St. Matthew's Elementary, right next door to me. Shout out to St. Matthew's special area teachers. Derek, thanks for being a technology leader and doing such a fabulous job on your lessons this week. I know our St. Matthews Tigers are going to love it. That's from Libby Hardy at St. Matthews Elementary to Derek Seibert. All right, let's look at another virtual yes card. This is from Camp Taylor. Miss Azevedo, you've done amazing work reaching out to your students digitally. Your video instructions are easy to follow, and your willingness to try new platforms is wonderful. Thanks for your digital leadership at Camp Taylor. We appreciate you. Sincerely, Becca Haynes, the assistant principal. All right, let's take a look at another one. This is from Vanita Burnett. Vanita says, Mrs. Freeman, Olivia Huber thinks you are rocking NTI. Here's what she said. I don't know if we even know how much you have done, we even know how much you've done for all of us behind the scenes these past couple of weeks. You are quick to respond, knowledgeable, and so helpful. Not only that, but you do it all with a virtual smile on your face. Thank you for everything you have done and continue to do for our students and staff. You're the best. Thanks for rocking NDI at Blake Elementary. That's from Vanita Burnett, our digital innovation leader at Blake Elementary. It's to the librarian, Emily Freeman. All right. If you want to send a virtual yes card to somebody who is rocking NTI and JCPS, just go to my Twitter at Russ Hockenberry and click on the link in my pinned tweet, tinyurl.com/yescardjcps. You'll get a template, and you can send a virtual yes card to somebody that is rocking NTI in JCPS. And we know there are tons of people out there. So let's get those yes cards flooding social media and in those inboxes. Thanks, guys. And so let's go back to our show now. And we are here with Cindy Simpson and Gina Gibson-Hurst. Hey, guys, and Melissa Weedman. All right. So, all right, are you guys ready to get started?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so EC, low tech, no tech. Here we go. Who's going to be presenting today?
Gina.
All right, Gina, you're on, and then whenever you're ready, you can screen share or do whatever you need to do.
All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen. While I'm doing that, I'm going to just take a couple of minutes today to talk about some options for how to utilize instructional assistance during NTI. And my resource teachers are going to be in the chat and doing their best to capture questions. So if they're unable to get to your question today, we'll make sure that we get back to you as soon as possible.
Awesome.
All right. Are you guys able to see my screen?
We are. And I'm Russ Hockenberry, the Digital Innovation Leader for Zone 3 Elementary Schools. I'm joined by Gina Gibson-Hurst. Gina, what's your role in JCPS?
I'm an ECE supervisor.
And then we've got Cindy Simpson, who is... Cindy, what's your role?
I'm with the ECE Assistive Technology Center.
And then Melissa Weedman, and you are... Melissa Weedman, what's your role?
I am the program supervisor for communication disorders and ECE assistive technology. And really my role today is just backup and answering questions.
All right, perfect. Okay, so here we go.
And supporting your wife, just to let you know that.
I know, yeah, exactly. I'm supporting my wife too. Yeah, funny. All right, go ahead, guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, this is Gina, and I just wanted to share some options for our wonderful instructional assistants that support classrooms. I work primarily with our moderate and severe disability classrooms, and we have an amazing group of teachers and instructional assistants that help provide support to students daily. So a lot of questions have come to us. You know, this is new for everybody. What does NTI look like for instructional assistants? Well, just like a classroom cannot run smoothly without the support of our instructional assistants, NTI also needs our assistants' talents and support throughout this process in order to maximize student success. So we're going to look at ways that instructional assistants can support the virtual classroom, and it could include some of the following. So we want to find ways to keep familiar routines going on at home. Some examples might be to lead a small group with morning meeting. A lot of our elementary students start the day with a morning meeting. They look at weather. So there are ways that we can create that in the home setting. We want to host a virtual lunch bunch with students. Our students miss seeing your faces. Go Noodle for all of our dancing instructional assistants out there. Those are great ways to get students involved and for students to be able to see the staff that they miss so much. Assist teachers in monitoring the virtual classroom. Our instructional assistants are great at helping with data collection. They can help with progress monitoring under the teacher's lead, grade assignments, read stories either virtually or over the phone with students.
I love that you bring that up, Gina, because you can make your instructional assistants co-teachers in your Google Classrooms. So just make them a co-teacher. Invite them. Could you do a couple things for me, Gina? Could you hit that see where it says hide at the bottom on your screen? Hangouts.
Yes.
Did you hit that hide there for me? And then at the very bottom too, where it says captions, you can turn on your captions.
Oh, I was supposed to do that. I apologize.
That's all right.
Okay.
All right, we're good to go now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that.
No problem.
Okay, so back to our amazing instructional assistants. Something that I thought of might be fun is if they could host maybe a virtual show and tell where students can maybe show their pets or some things that they've been doing during this unusual time. I know a lot of teachers and students are getting very creative at home. Instructional assistants can support with non-traditional community-based instruction. And I'm going to be back on Friday at 11 o'clock to discuss what that could look like. Community-based instruction is an extension of the classroom into the community setting. And home is actually one of those domains that we focus on. So we have some great ideas that we want to share Friday when we come on to talk. Another thing that we could work on, especially for our high school students, practice mock interviews, either over the phone or through a digital platform. And then under the leadership of the teacher, answer student questions virtually or on the phone, follow up on students who have not engaged in NTI. We have a lot of students out there that for various reasons might just need a little extra follow up and support to get them engaged in this process. We want to support families and students in accessing remote learning experiences. This is new for all of us. We're all learning together. So we want families to feel supported and not overwhelmed. We want to help support families with behavior. We know that this is a big change for a lot of students. Many of our students do not do well with change. Many adults do not do well with change. So we need to work together to put systems in place to support that. We also want to assist maybe with pen pals to keep students connected with one another. So we could do that through paper mail, email, or virtual turn and talk. We want to make sure that students, it's very important that they are still having those socializations, those experiences with their teachers, but also with their peers. And then really, most importantly, I feel, is to try and say hello to students frequently to let them know that you're thinking of them. This is a difficult time for everybody. And I think it's really important for students to know that we're in this together and we're here for them. And then lastly, some professional learning opportunities. This is a great time. I know myself, I have learned so much throughout this process. My technology skills are sharpening. And just the collaboration has been amazing. You know, working together, we're doing things we've never done before. And so this has been an amazing learning opportunity for all of us. And I know that the resources that I've picked up, I'll be able to use in the future. And I think that that will be really important for teachers and instructional assistants as well to enhance their instructional program. So I am going to jump off here, and if there are any questions, I'll be sure to get back with everyone, and I want to turn it over to Cindy.
All righty.
Good morning. Thank you, Gina.
Good morning.
Share my screen. Okay, and hopefully everyone can see my screen.
We can.
Okay, perfect. And hopefully captions is turned on as well.
Yes. Let's see. Where are you?
Can you see me? Or my captions?
I can see your. Yeah, there we go. Yep. Looking good.
All right. So this is to build on last week. I introduced no-tech and low-tech options. And so this is part 2 to go a little bit more in depth with that. And
Cindy, if you could click the hide button there, see where it says hide.
Yep. Sorry about that.
All right, no problem.
Okay, so if the parent or student doesn't have communication boards at home, what are our options? I briefly went over last week options 1 and 2, so I'll just reiterate those real quick. The first option, you can use signs. So if the student is using ASL or signing exact English or sign approximations, those can still be used. If they have a reliable yes/no response, you can use gestures such as head shakes and nods or thumbs up, thumbs down. You can use facial expressions such as a smile. And I kind of highlighted here partner-assisted scanning. Some of our students can use this where the partner they're communicating with, such as the caregiver, sibling, parent, they can provide the choices auditorily. If they have the picture supports or object supports with them, they can point to the pictures or objects as they're presenting auditorily. And then when you get to the option the student wants, the student would give their yes response. So whether that's a smile or one of our students kind of raises his wrist to elevate his hand a little bit to indicate a yes response, it can be anything like that. Option 2 is to use common items or objects found around the home, such as toys, utensils, foam board, yarn, felt, clay, pictures from magazines, food containers, etc. I've got some examples down here. So here they used common items around the home, such as a Play-Doh container to make a little communication board. They used scissors or a spoon to make a schedule, a picture schedule. They used items around the home to create little picture cards, such as a measuring spoon for daily living, a tennis ball for gym, a Band-Aid for the nurse. Some things are hard to represent with objects, more like function words. So here's an example from the Texas School for the Blind. Their symbol inventory that I'm going to link here in just a second. They used pipe cleaners in a shape of a circle for a yes response, and pipe cleaners in an X to create a no response. It doesn't even have to be this complex. The parent can use a piece of paper and put a big green check mark or a smiley face for a yes response. And then on a separate piece of paper can put a red X for a no response. But let me just go ahead and reference this tactile symbols inventory for those things that might be hard to represent with actual objects. So you can scroll down here and they have all of these different categories. So if I click on time and I want to represent Wednesday, it tells you the object around the home you can use. For Wednesday, they use a button, and then it gives you a picture of what that would look like. So they just use a card. This is more for the visually impaired, so they've got a lot of tactile backgrounds to help with that, and then they use the button. Again, these are a little bit more abstract, but it is an option on how to create those function word symbols with everyday items around the home. I also wanted to highlight Jane Farrall. She has a wonderful website for augmentative communication, but likes to include a lot of literacy and shared reading, which I think is really important for our kiddos. And she was doing an activity with alphabets and letters, the alphabet and letters. And she used Play-Doh or clay. I just wanted to highlight some of these. You can go back and look at it. And let's see, down here, she's using like a puzzle. She's using cookie cutters. I want to highlight a few more things down here. These are Play-Doh stamps. Here she used a paper plate with clothespins. And then down here, I wanted to highlight this. This is more for an alphabet scrapbook where she used magazine pictures in a notebook. But you could use this exact same concept, cut pictures from magazines to create a communication book that can be used around the home. The third option, again, if the student has strong literacy skills, they can write their responses using traditional pen and paper or a chalkboard or whiteboard. And you can create your own whiteboard at home if you don't have one, just using a picture frame. And you can insert a white piece of paper in the picture frame, and they can write on the picture frame with dry erase markers. This one they used a little bit more decorative paper, which was kind of cute, I thought. And then the fourth option is the teacher provides the communication board with paper packets that are sent home. They can provide them through Google Classroom or during virtual learning platforms such as Google Meet. So the first one, paper packets, last week I went through a lot of free resources to create communication boards that you can include with the packets to be sent home. I also wanted to highlight here, it's important to consider including AAC activities that are relevant to daily family routines so the student can get a lot of practice with their AAC, doing things that are naturally embedded throughout the day with the parents. And this activity is really nice because it tells you what's included. It's tips on how to provide tips on how to use the symbols, how long the activity will take, tips on getting your child to use the symbols. For example, if they can point with a finger, how to get them to do that. If they can't isolate a finger to point, they can use reaching or movement with their arms. If your child can look at the symbols, they can use eye gaze. And then it even gives tips on if they can't see by reinforcing and helping your child with the experience by giving them opportunities to touch and listen to learn. And then also with our visually impaired kiddos, it's helpful. You can use the partner-assisted scanning approach where you let them touch and explore the item or object, and then you auditorily present the information. And if they have a consistent yes response, they can select what they want with that consistent yes response. And then they have the home lesson plans. This is 4 weeks worth of lesson plans for activities that are already occurring throughout the day. They have the symbols in here to cue you on what to target for the student. So here we're targeting put and eat while putting away dishes. On Tuesday, we've got bath time and some vocabulary words to target. On Wednesday, snack time. Thursday, happy faces and sad faces. And then on Friday, getting dressed. So there's 4 weeks worth of activities. And then at the bottom, they have the picture cards that the parent, so if you sent this home in the packet, the parent could cut these picture cards and use them or leave them as a picture board and use them when they're working on the activities with the student. The next slide, I wanted to highlight here curriculum-based measures using non-technology. This was a slide in one of the PowerPoint presentations by the Kentucky Special Education Cooperatives on meaningful progress monitoring. So here it talks about sending a paper copy of the measure home with explicit instructions, which I think is important. And then the parent can fill out the probe and then send it back to the teacher for analysis. So I included a sample data sheet that you all can use and send home. And it's very parent friendly. It has an example of how to fill it out up here. They would just put in the date and time, the activity such as snack, the person collecting the data such as the parent, and then they would just do tally marks. The student responded on their display, communication display independently. They needed a model or prompting. They didn't respond or they refused, or they were displaying some sensory behavior such as tapping repeatedly on the display versus visually scanning and making a purposeful selection. And then there's room for notes. And when the parent is finished, they can submit this back with the packet to the teacher so they can analyze it, or the speech therapist so they can analyze it. This can be used also with any type of activity. So if it's an academic task, you can just change these up here to they did it correct, they did it incorrect, or they did it after I prompted or modeled for them, or didn't do it at all. And then you can just put some additional notes there. The next opportunity for teachers to provide it is through Google Classroom. So I'm going to go to my Google Classroom here, and I've created an activity. This is a literacy activity. And at the top, I have the instructions and the questions. And then I embedded the video. So here's my YouTube video right here of the story to listen to. And I just did that by hitting add in the YouTube video URL. And then I linked my communication board so the parent can download it. If they don't get the download arrow, you can just hit this little print button. Well, it's stalling on me. There we go. And then they can just save it as a PDF onto their computer and then open it up while they're doing the activity. They can ask the student the questions, and then they can either use the data sheet that you've got, or they can video. And I'm going to show you, I've created a Google form here. And I'm just going to open it up so you can see it. And in the Google form, they can either upload. So if the parent downloads the app on their phone, they could take a picture of the completed data sheet and then just upload it right here within Google Classroom and submit it, and the teacher will see it. Or on their phone, they can take a video pointing to the communication display while they're asking the questions and upload the video right there in Google Classroom for the teacher to access and see how the student did. So embed it right into the assignment. Okay. This is an example of how to communication boards during your digital virtual learning platform, such as Google Meet. I screenshotted this from a video that I've embedded on the next slide here. Here's a link, and then you can watch the video right inside the Google slide there. But I took a screenshot here of this because it's a nice visual of how she's doing it. Therapist that does teletherapy, but this can be used for teachers as well. And what she used was, when she was in Google Meets, she used the grid view so that she could see herself presenting instruction and see her students present while they're listening to the instruction. And then she split her screen, and the other side is her Google Slides that has her communication board. Now, what you can do is, while the student is signed in on their computer, the parent or guardian can sign in on their cell phone. And when the student is replying on their communication board, the parent can aim their phone camera to the communication display while the student is speaking with their communication board. And then the teacher can see it in real time as it's happening. So again, we go back to our direct measures while using technology. If the parent points the phone to the display, then the teacher can see it in real time. Or again, you always have the option of the parent recording the student pointing to the display and then submitting it, or completing that observation data log. This is just an example that I created on a Google slide. I've embedded a story being read by Oprah, because who doesn't love Oprah? And she's reading The Hula Hoopin' Queen. And so if I had my Google Meets up, I would have a split screen over here in grid view so I could see myself and my students. And then I've also got my communication board displayed. And I can play the video and she can start reading, and then I can pause it throughout and ask them questions like, oh, in this part of the story, was the main character happy or sad? And the nice thing, I just YouTubed this. It was videos read by stars, and it shows the pictures of the book as she's reading. So you can pause it so the student has the picture of the page in the book to look at, and then you can ask the questions and they can respond right there on the display. I've got about 8 minutes left, so I'm going to spend the rest of my time going through these resources, additional resources. There's tons out there, but these are some I wanted to make sure to include and highlight in this video. So the first one I've already briefly mentioned, but I wanted to show you on Jane Farrell's website on a different part. It talks about using that split screen. So this again is a Google slide. Here she has her herself embedded as she's reading the story, and then the communication display. I learned by watching others. So what I like about her website is there's a lot of video demonstrations of others using shared reading through a virtual platform, so that you can see how they're doing it. The next one is AAC Language Lab, and I've highlighted that last week as well. But when I highlighted it, I was showing you all the free resources. I also wanted to show you all their free activities and free lesson plans. Due to time constraints, I'm just going to focus on the free lesson plans. There's different stages depending on where the student is language-wise. And then there's different activities down here. So like you've got stop, go, fast, slow to target. You can download the lesson plan and then upload it in Google Classroom, or print it and send it home with the curriculum packets, or you can use it during your virtual learning. And then you can print it here. It talks about materials needed. These are everyday things you can find in the home, such as sidewalk chalk, toys, cars, toy cars and balloons, vocabulary to target, and then it's got the lesson plan to show you how to do this activity. I also wanted to highlight that there is PASS software that you can download so that you can use that in your split screen. And this looks like that. So if a student is using a low-tech display that's a PRC display, such as Lamp Words for Life, it'll let you model right here. It doesn't have voice output because it's their free PASS software that's downloaded to computers, but you can still highlight and model, which is nice. Parents can download it as well if they have access to a computer, and let the student use that as their communication display. Saltillo has Chat Corner, and again, I highlighted that last week, but I wanted to highlight a few other things. They've got books and stories, so like Camping Adventure, and it's got a story, and if you play the video, you'll notice that it has targeted words with the picture supports built into the video, which is really nice. that you can use when you're doing your virtual learning, or you can assign it to students. Over here, they have Active with AAC. And what I like about this is it has everyday things that parents are doing at home. So, for example, Play-Doh. And then it talks about if the student isn't using words yet or at single words, these are words you can target during that activity. And it not only talks about the vocabulary words, but it also talks about language intent, which we really want to work on building our students' language intent beyond just requesting. If they're working on 2-word phrases, it talks about some opportunities to work on 2-word phrases during this activity. Again, you would want to include a communication board with this if you assign it, either through Google Classroom or on the low-tech paper packets, or displayed when you're doing your split view. But if not, it also has just little strips here that are included that the parent can use. They also have this activity first approach, which I really like because it talks about using motivating activities that the student will be engaged in. And it talks about how to select an activity, picking motivating activities, scripts you can use, other tips. And again, I like this visual down here because, for example, during bubbles, it talks about targeting words, action words, question words, because a lot of our students don't know how to ask questions, our nonverbal students. So it targets those WH questions and how to use them. So again, not only does it target vocabulary, but it targets language intent, not just requesting, but initiating, asking questions, negating, things like that. And there are a ton more resources on that chat corner page. And then if we go to Core First, I also highlighted this last week, but I focused on the communication boards last week. But if you go to the Core First Learning, they have books down here with lesson plans. So if you're targeting the word go, you've got your lesson plans, and then you've got your books available. And then they also have, I wanted to highlight too, down here, this chat editor is another software that can be downloaded to computers for free. And the nice thing about this one does have voice input. And so you can model when you're doing your virtual platform, or the parents can download it and use it. So it's a nice little helpful tool that's for free as well. Got about 5 more minutes. So I'm going to go through a few more of these. Board Maker activities to go. They have activities that you can click on and use with students. They also have at-home learning. And if you scroll down, they've got some resources for our coronavirus, including hand washing sequence strips that can be provided to families, again, either through those low-tech packets or through Google Classroom or through your virtual learning platform. And then PEX USA has some at-home supports using everyday items at home. Here we got the marshmallow activity, and it gives you the video, it gives you the lesson plan, and it even gives you your visuals that you might need to help with communication during that activity. And let's see, practical AAC.org. They have a lot of resources on their website. I highly encourage you all to check it out. But this one is talks about online AAC support for families during school closures. And if you scroll down, they have this AAC calendar. And then it has nice little videos about different devices. It also has, if you scroll down a little further, week 1 calendar. And then week 1 calendar has the different days. And then you scroll down and it talks about aided language stimulation or modeling. So it's a good guide for parents. Gives you a video about it. Gives you some free resources. And again, this is a video that has the picture supports built in. And then it's got activities that you can do and what you would need, words to target, things like that. And then also on their website, on their learning from a distance or learning at a distance, click on the link. They have a lot of resources and videos. And again, this is on how to use a display within Google Slides with the video and other activities to work on communication while at home. Assistive wear. You scroll down. Has some other activities for parents to target communication during everything that they would be doing throughout the school day, common activities throughout the, not the school day, the home routine. And then I'll do one, Boom Learning. Boom Learning is a free resource. You can create a free account, and then you can go to their library, or I'm sorry, their store, and you hit Find Free. And there's a lot of free activities that you can assign to students in the classroom. And you can even import your Google Classroom to assign those activities. And it's not just communication activities. There's books. These have concepts such as put 3 eggs in the basket, put this rabbit beside the basket. There's math. There's sound sorting. So it's not just communication and speech, but other curriculum activities as well. And then the last one that I wanted to highlight was AAC books. There's book 1, book 2, and book 3. I'm going to highlight book 2, but you can go through and look at all of them. This one is getting started with AAC using low-tech symbol-based systems at home. And when you click here on Read Online here, it's got a lot of wonderful tips and tricks for parents on how to get started with using symbols in AAC at home. And I think that is about all the time we have.
That is. Thank you for sharing today, Cindy and Gina. Lots of great resources. Thank you for sharing today, Cindy and Lisa. You did lots of great resources. Our viewership basically doubled during that episode, so lots of people interested in what you're sharing. So thank you very much. And will you guys be back another day, or is this your last show?
This is Melissa. We'll be back every day while you guys are doing live shows from 11 to 11:30. Tomorrow we have Dr. Jason Wheatley and Laura Ferguson talking about transition activities and adaptive skills, I believe. And then Gina will be back with Nick Iliff on Friday. But we will be here every day from 11 to 11:30 with different topics.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. And so next we have Pictures, a tool for thinking and writing with Dominique Pleasant-Moore and Carrie Gray. I saw people on Twitter that were really excited about this session. So a lot to live up to, guys. So fire away.
Hi, I'm Dominique Pleasant-Moore, the ELA lead K-5.
Hi, I'm Carrie Gray. I am the AIC at Carrick Elementary, joining Dominique today to introduce you to something really fun we think you're going to love.
Awesome. And I'm the Zone 3 Digital Innovation Leader, Russ Hockenberry, for Zone 3 Elementary Schools. So here we go, guys. Pictures, a tool for thinking and writing. Who's going to be presenting today?
That will be me, Carrie.
All right, Carrie, you're going to go share your screen. And if you have Google Slides, remember to turn on your closed captioning.
All right, so you got me?
Yep, and then present, and then at the bottom you've got captions.
Okay.
Just click on captions to CC.
Did that do it?
No, try it one more time. So CC, and then just tap. There you go. Allow.
Okay.
Perfect. There you go.
Right. So welcome to our session. Dominique and I are really excited to show you a tool that's actually available on the NCI page for JCPS, and we'll show you where to find that at the end. This tool is called What's Going On in This Picture. So what we're going to show you today is something the Learning Network is providing through the New York Times. And they are partnering with Visual Thinking Strategies which was co-created by Abigail House, who is a cognitive psychologist, and Philip Yenowin, and he's a museum educator. So these two came together to create these visual thinking strategies to help promote looking at art closely. And within that, students were taught how to think critically and articulate their ideas. So just some ideas behind the visual thinking strategies is that we're teaching students how to make complicated observations and infer meaning from these observations. And so then they're able to base some inferences and use evidence from pictures to help support their thinking. They're also able to consider multiple inferences and take into consideration other people's ideas as well. And then they're allowed to go back and revise their own thinking to see if they have something else they want to add. And then lastly, they're able to elaborate a little bit more on their thinking. So the idea behind what the Learning Network is providing, they're going to show a picture and they strip the picture of the caption, and then they invite students to think about what might be happening. So I'm going to take you to the website. There are over 250 images that they've been acquiring over the past 7 years. So there's a lot to choose from. So when you go to the website, this is what it looks like. And every Sunday, can you see my website?
Yes, we can see it.
Just making sure. So every Sunday, the Learning Network is going to post a new picture, and they really look for intriguing pictures that are narrative by nature and offer a lot of opportunity for discussion. And they will post this image on Sunday evening, and students that are 13 years of age and older are actually invited to log in and join a chat with the Learning Network to provide their ideas about what's going on in this picture. So I'm going to take you there to show you that in just a minute. But if you keep scrolling down, you'll see that they offer tons of images. So you can go back from each week over the past 7 years and find lots of different images. And you can click here to show more if you want. So let me scroll back up and show you kind of the process the Learning Network takes students through. So if you click on the image, it will show you, and this is the one they just posted. And you can come down here and see this little chat box. There's already 292 comments here. And so they are inviting students around the world, or adults, whomever would like to join, to come in the chat and just kind of describe what they think is going on with this picture. Since students younger than 13 cannot create an account here, a lot of teachers have created accounts like Mrs. Gray's second grade class. And Mrs. Gray will kind of capture all of the ideas from her class and post maybe one post that summarizes some thinking from her second grade class. So elementary teachers can still kind of join that way to get their students' thoughts out to the public. So that's one feature. You can also scroll down here and click a full size. So if you just want to show the picture, it'll show you a larger frame of that photograph there. It also gives you the directions. So these are the three main questions, and Dominique's going to hit on these in just a minute, thinking about what's going on in this picture. So anyways, the Learning Network will have the students share their thinking, and they kind of moderate at certain periods throughout the day where they tell everybody what's going on in the chat and kind of offer some feedback and maybe prompt for some further deeper thinking. And then on Thursdays, they will post the big reveal. So they'll tell you where this photograph really came from. So since we're not on Thursday, I'm going to go back and show you. Click back here. I'm going to go back and show you an older photograph and how they put the big reveal at the bottom. So this was from March 23rd. This was the photograph that they posted. And on Thursday, I'm not going to go too fast so I don't make you dizzy. The big reveal is at the end. So they'll tell you what the actual caption from this picture read. so that you can reveal that to your students as well. So that's kind of the gist of the website. And I will give off to Dominique so she can talk to you about these 3 guiding questions.
Yes, thank you, Carrie. We are super excited about this resource and super excited to share with you guys how we think you can use it during NTI, and even when we get back into classrooms, how you could use it there also. So what they ask students, what's going on in this picture? One question is, what is going on in the picture? Then you want your students to answer, what do you think? What do you see that makes you say that? What more can you find? And so with those questions, it gets the kids thinking critically. It starts conversation. They start bouncing off ideas. And they also talk about how once one student sees something, it opens up an opportunity for another student to see something they may not have thought about before, but just creating very rich discussion in the classroom, which we feel could also lead to amazing journal entries.
Absolutely. So what we thought would be fun today is to just kind of actually walk you through the engaging process of what it feels like to be the student and to come on and answer these questions. So we're going to use our chat and pretend it's kind of like the Learning Network's chat. And I'm going to show you this photograph, and I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. And any information that you want to type into the chat, Dominique's going to moderate for us kind of a live session of what the Learning Channel might, or the Learning Network might look like and sound like. So I'm going to open this up to a bigger image. And my first question is just what's going on in this picture? So if you will, go to chat and just tell us what you notice. What do you see going on? What do you think is happening? And after you kind of are noticing some things and typing some things in chat for us, see if you can add some more detail. What do you see that makes you say that?
We have the JCPS Digital Learning as people are releasing balloons in celebration. A lot of people are saying celebration, some sort of celebration is going on. Yep, a lot of people are saying people are celebrating something, some sort of celebration is happening.
What more can you find? What other details can you add?
Celebration with balloons or releasing balloons. Someone also said maybe it's a remembrance. Also have a comment from Elizabeth. The boy is smiling and looks to be releasing balloons. JCPS noticed there are letters attached to the balloons. Elaine said balloons equal happiness. Sarah says releasing balloons, boy is smiling. Carrie says there is a party or remembering someone. Sarah says looks like the person on the right is clapping. Elaine, wonder in the faces of the children. Balloons appear to be only a few select colors.
All right, thanks guys for playing along. We wanted to give you a feel of what the students might feel like when they're looking at a photograph and trying to determine what's going on. So next, we are going to talk about the benefits.
We've looked at what benefits of using the pictures. We thought open-ended tasks that are accessible to all students of all ages and stages in development. Everybody can participate and give their ideas of what they see in the picture. Honors each and every student's contribution, builds critical thinking skills. It builds the language skills, discussion skills that you want to be able to set up in the classroom to build that safe community and students feeling like they are in a place where they can share. Engages students in looking closely and noticing, helps students interpret meaning, requires that students provide evidence for their thinking, backing up their claims, enhances their writing abilities. So we found an endless amount of benefits for using this resource.
Yes. So one of the things we really wanted to share with you was some ways we thought you could use this during NTI. Clearly in the classroom, in our traditional setting classroom, this can be such a grand discussion with kids each week. And we can offer opportunities for them to have lots of discussions with each other. But during NTI, it might change a little bit. So here were some of the ideas that we wanted to propose to you about using during NTI. And one would just be posting the 3 questions and one of the pictures in your Google Classroom and inviting your students to comment through the stream. Then they can comment on each other's thoughts and ideas. Teachers can provide feedback and further prompting. So it was just a fun and engaging way to kind of get them in classroom with an activity that they would enjoy. Another idea was with the live Google Meet. So if you create a Meet and you have office hours or an open session during the day, this is such an opportunity to encourage those discussions about the things that they might have typed in Google Classroom, or just to open it up then and there and have students participate in that live video conference with you. This also is such an opportunity to encourage students to write. So you can offer it as a writing prompt and teach them how to create their claim and support their reasonings with evidence. And then so also creating a weekly journal. So maybe this is something you start every Monday, and students can do their what's going on in this picture weekly journal. And then you can do that digitally, either with Google Slides, on Google Docs, or they can write it in a notebook, take a picture, and send it to you right now. We also thought this would be such a fun way to introduce a project or even a compelling question. We have a lot of people that are creating their choice boards around compelling questions, and what a fun way to engage students in the work that you're asking them to do, just to get them started and excited. I'm sorry.
We've got some suggestions too. Jamie says they could also write a story based on the picture and get a little creative with it. Sade said builds and inferencing skills.
Absolutely. So I wanted to share with you, let me get off here really quick. This week, I jumped in one of our 4th grade classrooms, and let's see, if I make this a little bigger, maybe it'll help you see. All right, I hope that helped everybody see a little bit more. So I jumped into one of our 4th grade classrooms at Carrick, and I did just what I suggested. I put up this post, and this was the picture I showed the students. And initially, I just put up this post that, hello, boys and girls, please join me in this fun, thoughtful task that uses a picture to help us think, communicate, and write. And then I told them that I would meet with them during their teacher's office hours that day. So I just kind of set up the expectation, look at the picture, answer the following questions by responding to the post. And then I laid out the 3 questions. What is going on in this picture? What do you see that makes you say that? And what more can you find? So then the students were able to click on that link and look at this picture. And I just used the link from the full-size version when I had clicked on earlier, when you can enlarge the photograph from the Learning Network. So that's the link I used. And then I just wanted to show you, I these are just screenshots because I, of course, took out all of our student names. But at first, it just kind of started with kids writing just quick little thoughts. There are people on a bridge. There's grass under it. There's boats. I see a boat path. And then after our session that day, I got with them on Google Meet, and we just started talking about how I wanted them to add some more. And you can see here, before I jumped on, I even put on there a comment to them. Hey, I see you're making all these great comments. I see a lot of you are noticing people are walking on boats and a bridge. And then I'm just kind of prompting them, can you add some more details to your thinking? So I want them to start supporting with reasons. And this was the very first time they ever did this. And the conversation was so rich and so full of excitement. The kids were thrilled about this. So they went back and added more. And then I just kept going back and adding comments. And of course, these are specific students. I'm just commenting on what they've noticed and seeing if I can prompt them to think about something a little deeper. And then, I'm going to scroll back up here to show you what I did. And you might do it differently. But what I did, I just went back on the same post and I added an update at the top of that post on Monday night. And I said, hey, I see you got a lot of great information. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you the big reveal at 3:30. So I was just telling them to come and join office hours, that I was going to tell them what the picture, what the caption really said. So we had quite a few students show up yesterday. And I gave them the big reveal. I told them what was really going on. And while our conversations were all really powerful, this moment yesterday was very exciting. The kids were just full of laughter and excitement that all of their ideas were validated because they thought it was a boat bridge and it really was a boat bridge. And they really liked the fact that their ideas were validated. And then what happened then was really amazing. They became very curious about what was really going on in this photograph, where it was really taken, and who were these people. So then it prompted the kids. They wanted to go to Google Earth. They went to Google Earth. They put in this city and our country and found where it was on the map, dropped in a satellite view, took a little tour around the village through Google Earth, and we're trying to make all kinds of inferences about the people that lived there and what they thought they might really be using this boat bridge to do. And then at the end of our conversation, they were just about begging their fourth grade teacher if they could do research on this because it just prompted so much excitement. So I asked them what made this so much fun because they were very engaged in this work. So here's a couple quotes from the kids. They said, it's like a game where you guess, and I love guessing games. It's fun because you're trying to use your knowledge to guess things and find out what's going on in the picture. And another student said, after everybody talks about it, you can go back and add more thoughts. So they were really thrilled to share their thinking. And I scrolled pretty quickly through, but one of the things that they did was they went back and added comments on their classmates. So I agree with so-and-so, or I disagree. So we had a lot of communication going on just right there in the Google Classroom stream.
Carrie and I were super excited about this resource, but really got excited when she was able to use it in real time with a class and have them get just as excited as we were about this resource. And that's one reason we really wanted to share it with you guys today. What a great resource it could be during, even during this NTI time.
Absolutely. And what's great, like, it seems so simple, but man, you got so much out of that. It's like you squeeze it in an orange and you got so much juice out of that orange.
You're right. And I don't know how to express that feeling of excitement. Just being online with the kids and hearing their joy right now is really a positive experience through this NTI work. So this is a super fun way to engage them and get them kind of hooked to come in and meet you during your office hours or during your class meeting too.
Yeah, so we also wanted to share some ideas that Carrie and I came up with of how to use this strategy later when we get back into the classrooms, get back into our schools. We thought this is one way we can connect it to the reading workshop. Introduce it on Monday and have students have those conversations back and forth. You could use it in a journaling. You could even use it for student debate. Introducing a story, you could just pick an image from a story. You can use these images to start, introduce a standard, a new idea in any content. It would be a great way to introduce to a new PBL unit. They also said you could use memes to promote this critical thinking, using a meme for them to figure out what's happening in that meme. We also got excited because we felt this resource could be used throughout the building in a music class or in your own class, using a song, what's going on in this song, in a play, illustration in a story, engagement piece to begin an art lesson, a study of an artist. It's like unlimited ideas and things that you can do just by using this resource and thinking about just by using an image, all of the things that you can get from one image, like we saw with the classroom Carrie was working with.
Absolutely. And even now, so the fourth grade teacher I worked with, shout out to Danielle Warren, if you all know her, she let me peek in that room this week, and already the kids are so excited. Danielle's going to use this every week now, and they cannot wait to see what the next picture is going to be.
Carrie,
yeah.
Danielle just said the students loved it. They are begging for more. The students ended up completely leading in on their own with the reveal. And so that's great when students are doing a lot of the work and they're just eating it up, loving it.
Yes, it really was something. And Danielle and I were talking today with her fourth grade team about using some of the images that we think will help with the content they're working on next week too. So there's, like you say, endless possibilities here.
And thank you, Danielle, for allowing us to use your students. So we can share that it's easy to just start doing right now during this NTI time.
So, like the students, we thought you might like to know what the big reveal is for this picture that we showed. So you can see here that everybody was kind of commenting that it was a celebration. Of course, balloons are going up in the air. You notice something was tied to the balloons. The caption from this picture actually read, "Students of the Islamic Educational College School celebrated Teachers Day in Amman, Jordan. Hundreds of students released balloons, which were tagged with handwritten paper messages as part of the festivities." So what a grand image, because we think we should celebrate all of our teachers right now for all of the hard work you all are doing.
That is a great image. Thank you for revealing that.
So lastly, Dominique, do you want to walk them through where they can go to find this on the Jefferson County page?
Yeah, we wanted to show you where you can find it. If you go to the NTI Teacher Toolkit, and then once you're there, you're going to go to the Teacher Resources and click English Language Arts, or ELA, and it has all of our ELA resources that we thought would be very useful during this NTI time, and then just scroll and find what's going on in this picture. And it's there. And we also have it linked where you can go straight to it in our slides down at the bottom, where you can just go straight there, or you can just any search engine type in what's going on in this picture to find it also.
Excellent. Thank you guys for taking us to the JCPS NTI website and reminding people where to get these resources. That's super important. Anything lingering in the chat?
Nope, I think we're good.
Does not look like it, but you guys did a great job. Man, I love that picture idea. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna find a way to use that with my 18-month-old. I don't know how, but there we go. But yeah, so thank you for joining us today. The morning session of our virtual learning is concluding, but join us at 12:30 for PBL during NTI with Maddie Shepard and Joe McKim of the Deeper Learning team. Thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Dominique. You guys did great today. And we are out of here until 12:30. So enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you back here at 12:30 for PBL during NTI with Maddie Shepard and Joe McKim.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.